A very good afternoon to each one of you present here. कुछ नशा तिरंगे की आन का है, कुछ नशा मस्त भूमि की शान का है. हम लहराएंगे हर जगह पर तिरंगा, नशा ए हिंदुस्तान के सम्मान का है. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to each one and all of us here. We've gathered here to extend our Independence Day celebration and take our collective josh to another level. आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव पर हम संपूर्ण सम्मान और जोश के साथ आज के दिन आप लोगों के साथ साझा करने के लिए यहाँ पर हाजिर हुए हैं. I am Captain Asha Alagappa. I welcome the dignitaries on the dais and wonderful audience present here on the auspicious occasion of celebrating all SCM entrepreneurs. A quick introduction going forward. Long are the days when we did business with manual processes. Let us celebrate this independence for manual issues and doing business the smarter way with technology and innovation. To mark this occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we will be embarking on the journey of defense officers who are now leading their passionate ventures and learn from the experience of experts and cheer the spirits of MSME doing business easily, quickly, and smartly. A very quick and a short introduction about myself. I am a seasoned veteran in the area of business strategy, development, and continuity for more than 2.7 decades in defense and corporate world. The title of captain has been earned with 10 years of nostalgic service in the Indian Army, which has built me an expert in the area of ammunition, armament, and explosive, and most importantly, people management. Professionally, I am a pioneer defense munition and explosive expert, an EC member and a strategic advisor at MSME Business Forum India, Pune Zone, a founder of Gyan Darshini, being a career coach and a mentor, a qualified POSH internal committee specialist, and an Iron Lady champion, and also an advisory member to NAM Foundation, working on a mission to serve the community with the basic aim of marching towards bigger success on professional and social satisfaction. I'm also here today to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Amit Parikh. Mr. Amit Parikh is an international trade advisor. His company, Harmony International, is providing advisory services to MSME and startups to export their products and services in international market. The alumni of Lal Bhai Dalpatra Engineering College, Mechanical College of batch of 1990, he has a wide experience in agro and food processing sector. He has initiated a concept named Farm to Folk. His company is working to promote products and services for all stakeholders in the value chain of international market. Skill for Transformation is a philanthropic initiative by Mr. Amit Parikh for the youth of the country. He believes that the mission of Skill to Transformation for youth is 5 E's. These are education, empower, employable, enrich, and enable. Amit Parikh is also a National General Secretary of MSME and Startup Forum Bharat. He is the chairman of Gujarat State Council of India Chamber of Commerce, Calcutta, and an executive committee member of Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industries, and also a chairman of Startup Committee. Mr. Amit Parikh, your single point agenda has been to serve the nation. Is it to say to serve the youth of the country? Yes. अगर आपकी भावना राष्ट्र प्रथम है तो आप युवा पीढ़ी के लिए काम करने के लिए हमेशा तैयार रहते हैं. My first question to you, sir. You've initiated a concept named Farm to Folk. We request you to please open and elaborate this concept to all of us for a deep understanding. Mr. Amit Parikh.
धन्यवाद आशा जी. सबसे पहले मैं हमारी भारत माँ को नतमस्तक प्रणाम करता हूँ. आज़ादी का ये अमृत महोत्सव जब पूरे देश में बहुत हर्षोल्लास से सेलिब्रेट हो रहा है, तब आज़ादी हमें जिसने दिलाई वो सब राष्ट्र नेता को प्रणाम करता हूँ, सब शहीदों को प्रणाम करता हूँ, और खास करके आज हम जिनके लिए जी रहे हैं वो सब देशवासियों को प्रणाम करता हूँ. और आज मैं खास कहना चाहूँगा, जब हमारे तीनों विंग के यहाँ पे जो कमांडर है, कर्नल है, वो यहाँ पे हाजिर है, तो आप सबको मैं प्रणाम करता हूँ, क्योंकि आप लोग जब देश के लिए काम करते हैं तब हम यहाँ बहुत शांति से जी पाते हैं। मैं यहाँ एमएसएमई स्टार्टअप फोरम भारत की ओर से उनके प्रतिनिधि के हिसाब से यहाँ बोलने के लिए आया हूँ। हमारे फाउंडर प्रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर मनोज कुमार शाह ने आप सबका अभिवादन किया है। तो आपके पहले प्रश्न का उत्तर मैं दे रहा हूँ, उसके पहले आप सबको मैं कृष्ण जन्म की बधाई देना चाहता हूँ। आज का जो टॉपिक है इसमें एक बिजनेस इश्यू की बात है, बिजनेस ग्रोथ की बात है। तो भगवान कृष्ण बहुत अच्छे कम्युनिकेटर थे, और अगर आप देखेंगे तो महाभारत में उन्होंने इश्यूज की भी बात किया है और ग्रोथ का भी बात किया है। तो ये सबके लिए जरूरी है संवाद। तो मैं टैली के जो भी जितने भी सहयोगी कार्यकर्ता है वो सबका अभिवादन करता हूँ कि उन्होंने आज यहाँ पे संवाद बनाया। अभी मैडम मैं सीधा आपके प्रश्न पे जवाब के लिए आऊंगा। आपने जो थैंक यू फॉर योर इंट्रोडक्शन। मैं 30 साल से एग्रो एंड फूड सेक्टर में काम कर रहा हूँ। मुझे हर वक्त ऐसा लगता है कि एग्रो और फूड सेक्टर में जो संभावना है, वो संभावना अभी तक चाहे कितने भी प्रयास हुआ हो, अभी तक वो एक्सप्लोर नहीं हुई है। तो मैंने एक कंसेप्ट डेवलप किया है, बहुत वेल नोन कंसेप्ट है। ऐसा नहीं है कि ये मेरा कंसेप्ट है, बहुत लोग इसमें काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत संस्थाएं काम कर रही है। हमारे ऑनरेबल पीएम का एक सपना है, डबलिंग द इनकम ऑफ फार्मर्स। तो ये ध्यान में रखते हुए ये कंसेप्ट को मैंने बनाया है, फार्म टू फॉर। ये कंसेप्ट को मैं आगे ले गया हूँ, फार्म टू फॉरेन लैंड। होता क्या है मैडम कि चाहे कितने भी प्रोफेशनल ले लो, अगर उनको पूछेंगे कि आप कौन से सेक्टर में काम करते हैं, तो वो लोग बताएंगे या फाइनेंस सेक्टर में हूँ या एकेडमिक में हूँ, बहुत सारे सेक्टर्स की बात करेंगे। लेकिन मुझे हर वक्त लगता है कि एग्रो सेक्टर जो है, इसमें जो प्रोफेशनल लोगों को होना चाहिए वो कहीं ना कहीं कम लोग हैं। तो दिस इज द बिगेस्ट वैल्यू चेन। मैं ऐसा समझता हूँ कि जब हम गेहूं की बात करते हैं तो वीट से लेके रोटी तक, अभी तो फ्रोजन फूड का जमाना आ गया है, तो फ्रोजन पराठा, फ्रोजन रोटी, तो दिस इज द बिगेस्ट वैल्यू चेन। हम सब जितने भी प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, अगर ये वैल्यू चेन में किसी भी तरह योगदान करेंगे तो डबलिंग द इनकम ऑफ फार्मर्स वो बहुत आसान हो जाएगा। मेरा हर वक्त ऐसा मानना है कि ऑनरेबल पीएम या जो भी मिनिस्टर है, अगर कोई इनिशिएटिव करते हैं तो हम सब प्रोफेशनल्स का ये उत्तरदायित्व होता है कि इसमें हम योगदान दें। तो आई कॉल इट एज अ PSR। एक मैंने ये नया शब्द कॉइन किया है, प्रोफेशनल सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। तो इनके अंतर्गत जैसे आपने मेरी इंट्रोडक्शन में बताया, हार्मनी इंटरनेशनल इज वर्किंग फॉर द फार्म टू फॉरेन लैंड कंसेप्ट। तो एज अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस वी डू इंटरनेशनल एग्जीबिशंस, जिसमें जितने भी वैल्यू, ये सबसे बड़ी वैल्यू चेन है मैम। इसमें फार्मर्स भी आ जाएंगे, प्रोसेसिंग इक्विपमेंट वाले भी आ जाएंगे, एग्रो प्रोड्यूस बनाने वाले भी आ जाएंगे। वो सबको हम एक्सपोर्ट के लिए बाहर ले जाते हैं इन द इंटरनेशनल एग्जीबिशंस। वी डू B2B मीटिंग्स ऑल्सो। हम इसमें, क्योंकि मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि जो भी प्रोडक्ट अगर एक्सपोर्ट होती है तो इसमें कहीं ना कहीं वैल्यू एडिशन होती है, और वैल्यू एडिशन जो होती है वो यहाँ पे प्रोसेसिंग चार्ज के रूप में यहाँ इंडिया में रहती है। तो एक बहुत बड़ी रोजगारी की संभावना रहती है। मैं आपको छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ। मान लो यहाँ से हम ओनियन एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, ठीक है। अब ओनियन एक्सपोर्ट करने के बदले यहाँ पे इसको डिहाइड्रेट करके ओनियन की पेस्ट बना के अगर एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे तो जो प्रोसेसिंग है वो यहाँ पे रहेगा और ओनियन का एक्सपोर्ट बच सकते हैं। ऐसे मेरे पास बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल है। तो मेरी कंपनी ये सेक्टर में काम कर रही है, और जो मैं जो एसोसिएशन से जुड़ा हूँ, MSME स्टार्टअप फोरम भारत, इसमें भी हम लोग ये संभावनाओं को एक्सप्लोर कर रहे हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच। आई होप आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन।
थैंक यू सो मच अमित जी। मेरा दूसरा सवाल आपको ये है कि will it be wonderful to ask you in detail to share your thought on skills of transformation, a philanthropic initiative for the youth of India? What do you have to add here?
मैडम दिस सब्जेक्ट इज वेरी क्लोज टू माय हार्ट। ये
I
एक,
know, इसीलिए हमने आपको ये सवाल किया है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। मैं इसमें थोड़ी मेरी पर्सनल बात कहूंगा। हमारे ऑनरेबल पीएम जब गुजरात के सीएम थे, एक छोटी सी स्टोरी है, इट इज अ वेरी इंस्पायरिंग। तो एक युवा उनके पास आया, और सीएम आप जैसे जानते हैं उनको युवा के प्रति बहुत कनेक्ट है, बहुत कंसर्न है। तो उन्होंने वो युवान को पूछा कि बेटा आप क्या करते हो, आप में स्किल क्या है, हुनर क्या है। तो युवा ने बोला सर मैं एमबीए हूँ। तो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने पूछा वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन आप में स्किल क्या है, आप में हुनर क्या है? तो वो युवा के पास जवाब नहीं था। तो ये जब ऑनरेबल पीएम जब ये टॉक कर रहे थे तब मैं वो सभागृह में था। तो मुझे लगा कि युवाओं के लिए स्किल के लिए कुछ करना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमारी जो एकेडमिक व्यवस्था है अभी तो इसमें बहुत कुछ सुधार पिछले 10 सालों में आ गया है, लेकिन एकेडमिक और इंडस्ट्रीज कहीं ना कहीं कनेक्ट नहीं हो रहे। हर एक व्यवस्था की अपनी एक मर्यादा होती है, वो मर्यादा का मैं सम्मान करता हूँ। लेकिन मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ हम सब भारतीय, जितने भी भारतीय है, अगर स्किल युवाओं के स्किल में कुछ काम करना है तो वो कर सकते हैं। इसीलिए मैं हर वक्त ऐसा मानता हूं कि अगर आपकी कोई विचार है तो इसको एक नाम दिया जाए और लोगों को जुड़ा जाए। तो ये 2011-12 में मैंने एक ये इनिशिएटिव किया था। ये मेरा फिलैंथ्रोपिक इनिशिएटिव है जिसका नाम मैंने रखा स्किल फॉर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन। और मैं इसको मानता हूँ, आई एम लिटिल गुड एट कॉइनिंग द न्यू वर्ड्स, ISR, इंडिविजुअल सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज। मेरा हर वक्त ऐसा मानना है मैडम कि हम जितने भी सीनियर लोग हैं हमारे पास कोई ना कोई ऐसी स्किल है जो हम युवाओं को दे सकते हैं। आई गिव वन स्मॉल एग्जांपल। मान लो कि 60 साल का एक मेडिकल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हो जो फार्मा कंपनी में एक अच्छे ओहदे पे रिटायर्ड हुआ हो। अब उसके पास एक अच्छा स्किल है कम्युनिकेशंस का, वर्बल बॉडी लैंग्वेज, नॉन वर्बल बॉडी लैंग्वेज। तो अगर ये बात अगर वो युवाओं को सिखाएगा तो हो सकता है कि युवाओं के जीवन में एक बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन आ जाए। तो ये एक इनिशिएटिव में बहुत लोगों के पास ले गया हूँ, बहुत सारे लोग इसमें जुड़े हैं। मैं बहुत संस्थाओं में ये बात करता हूँ और आज आज जाके ईश्वर की कृपा से ये इनिशिएटिव एक अच्छे लेवल पे पहुंच गया है। और मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ कि कहीं ये मेरा इनिशिएटिव नहीं है, हम सब भारतीयों का ये इनिशिएटिव होना चाहिए। और इसमें कुछ नहीं करना है, युवाओं से बात करना है। हमारे जो भी कनेक्ट है वो हम सब कनेक्ट युवाओं को शेयर कर सकते हैं। और आज ये प्लेटफॉर्म में मैं खास जो टैली जो पूरे भारत में पूरे विश्व में फैला हुआ है, एंड टैली इज नोन फॉर द अकाउंटिंग एंड मैनी थिंग्स। मैं हर वक्त कहता हूं कि टैली ने अपना एक ऐसा ब्रांड बना लिया है कि लोग ऐसा यहाँ गुजरात में लिखते हैं टैली सीखने के लिए आओ, अकाउंट सीखने की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं। तो आज 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 का ये जो माध्यम है, आज की जो टॉक है, इसमें एक मेरा हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट है कि किसी भी तरह आपके पास एक टेक्नोलॉजी का प्लेटफॉर्म है तो ग्रोथ के लिए हमें युवाओं के लिए कुछ करना चाहिए। मैडम युवाओं की जो संख्या है हम सब जानते हैं कि इंडिया में 60%, 66% पॉपुलेशन इज बिलो 35। तो ये जाके कुछ 80 करोड़ युवा होते हैं। तो अगले सालों में जब ऑनरेबल पीएम का सपना है कि भारत पूरे विश्व में लीड करेगा तो वो युवाओं के द्वारा ही करेगा। तो ये मेरा स्पष्ट निवेदन है कि युवाओं के लिए काम किया जाए और यही मेरा एक इनिशिएटिव का संकल्प है। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू अमित जी। मेरे अगले 3 सवालों के जवाब भी आपके इस छोटे से व्याख्यान से आ गए हैं, लेकिन फिर भी मैं अगले 3 सवाल आपको पूछ
जी
लेती हूँ। मेरा तीसरा सवाल आपको ये था कि आप एक्सप्लेन करें कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एमएसएमई एंड स्टार्टअप फोरम बिजनेस फॉर भारत फॉर अ बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग फॉर द ऑडियंस प्रेजेंट हियर। So would you
बिल्कुल।
like to add something more than what you have not added? We will be more than happy if you can do
जरूर
that.
मैडम। अभी तक मैंने जो बात किया वो मेरा एक इंडिविजुअल इनिशिएटिव की बात किया था। एमएसएमई स्टार्टअप फोरम भारत, इसका पंच लाइन आप सब पढ़ रहे हैं, कनेक्ट क्रिएट एंड कोलैबोरेटिव एफर्ट्स। आज का जो वेबिनार में हमारा जो सहयोग है वो इसी के हिसाब से है। आई अगेन थैंक यू वेरी मच टीम टैली कि उनका एक जो संवाद था इसी हिसाब से यहाँ तक हम पहुंचे हैं। मैडम 2 साल पहले डॉक्टर मनोज कुमार शाह जो आज यहाँ पे उनकी कुछ व्यस्त कारण थे जो पहले से डिसाइड हुआ था, इसके कारण आ नहीं सका और उनकी गैरहाजिरी में मैं यहाँ पूरे स्टार्टअप फोरम भारत का प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहा हूँ। तो ये 2 साल पहले उन्होंने वाराणसी से है, इज एकेडमिशियन, बिजनेसमैन है। तो उन्होंने ये शुरुआत किया था। बहुत पूरे इंडिया से बहुत सारे लोग इसमें जुड़े हैं। हमारा मैडम बहुत क्लियर एजेंडा है कि हमें नंबर 1 एमएसएमईज एंड स्टार्टअप दोनों को कनेक्ट करना है। एमएसएमई के पास स्केल है, स्टार्टअप के पास एक टेक्नोलॉजी है, स्पीड है। अगर दोनों साथ में मिलकर काम करेंगे तो ऑनरेबल पीएम का जो सपना है $5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी आत्मनिर्भर भारत, वो बहुत आसानी से हो सकता है। तो 2 साल से हम लोग जो काम कर रहे हैं, मैं थोड़ी हमारी प्रेजेंस के बारे में बताना चाहूंगा। हमारी प्रेजेंस 24 स्टेट में है और इंडियन टेरिटरी में है। वी हैव जैसे 104 सिटीज, 150 चैप्टर्स है। नंबर तो ठीक है मैडम, लेकिन हमारा इरादा बहुत क्लियर है। हमारे पास बहुत अच्छे मेंटर्स हैं। हम कभी ऐसा कहना नहीं चाहेंगे कि हम इंडस्ट्रीज में कुछ ज्यादा एडवोकेसी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारे पास जो है वो हमारे मेंटर्स है, हमारे ब्रेन है। तो हम पूरे इंडिया में जितने भी एसोसिएशन है, जितने भी चैम्बर ऑफ कॉमर्स है, वो सबको जुड़ना चाहते हैं। आई गिव यू वन वेरी स्मॉल एग्जांपल। हमने नास्कॉम के साथ टाइप किया है, एमओयू किया है। आप जानते हैं कि नास्कॉम टेक्नोलॉजी की डायरेक्शन में बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही है। तो नास्कॉम का जो एजेंडा है हम लेके छोटे छोटे एसोसिएशन में जाते हैं, क्योंकि इंडिया में मैडम आप भी जानते हैं, आप पूना से है, कि जो बड़े सिटी में जो संस्था है, इंडस्ट्रीज है, उनको अच्छा मौका मिल रहा है। टीयर 2 टीयर 3 सिटी में इतना काम नहीं हो रहा है। तो हमारा एक ये नम्र प्रयास है कि टीयर 2 टीयर 3 सिटी में भी हम लोग काम करें। तो यही एजेंडा है। और दूसरा जो हम सबसे बड़ा काम करने के लिए एक हम उम्मीद रखते हैं, वो है कि हम इंटर स्टेट बिजनेस को बढ़ाना चाहते हैं। अभी हमारा समग्र ध्यान यूपी में है। यूपी में बहुत सारी योजनाएं हैं। ये योजनाओं अलग अलग राज्यों में पहुंचना बहुत मुश्किल है, क्योंकि ये इतना बड़ा तंत्र है हमारे देश का कि कोई एक सरकार या कोई दो चार तंत्र ये काम कर नहीं सकते। तो हम इंटरस्टेट कनेक्टिविटी के लिए काम कर रहे हैं। तो ये एक उद्देश्य है। आई होप आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन।
बिल्कुल सही। मेरा आखिरी सवाल आपसे ये है कि आपका सिंगल पॉइंट ऑफ एजेंडा रहा है टू सर्व द नेशन, and you have said also you want to serve the country of the youth power of the nation. आप इस आपकी स्ट्रेंथ को, आप इसके अपने मिशन को एक वाक्य में किस तरह से बखान करना चाहेंगे?
मैडम मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि जितने लोग के दिल में ये जज्बा है कि राष्ट्र प्रथम, ये सालों से मैं सुनता आया हूँ, कहीं मैंने अनुभव भी किया है और कहीं अपने जीवन में भी लाया हूँ। माफ करना, थोड़ा वाक्य ज्यादा हो जाएगा, लेकिन बात एक ही है कि राष्ट्र प्रथम अगर किसी के दिल में है तो इसके लिए एक ही बात होनी चाहिए, युवा प्रथम। आपके जीवन में आप जो भी काम करें, अगर इसमें युवा को युवा एंटरप्रेन्योर्स ले लो या युवा एम्प्लॉय ले लो, अगर इसको आप प्रायोरिटी में रखेंगे तो जरूर देश में आपकी जो भावना है उच्च राष्ट्र प्रथम की, वो अपने आप हो जाएगी।
बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल सही बताया आपने। अगर हमारे देश को आज प्रगति के मार्ग पे जाना है, तो हमारे देश की सबसे बड़ी आज की जो पावर है वो है यूथ। और अगर हम यूथ को लीड कर सकते हैं, यूथ को सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, यूथ को एजुकेट कर सकते हैं और यूथ को काम करने की शक्ति दे सकते हैं, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि हमारा देश किसी भी फील्ड में पीछे रहेगा। थैंक यू सो मच मिस्टर पारिक। मेरे जो सेकंड गुरु हैं, वो है विंग कमांडर सत्यम कुशवाहा सर। सर के बारे में तो मुझे बहुत कुछ बोलना है, लेकिन मैं केवल 2 वाक्य में सर की डेफिनेशन देना चाहूंगी। सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है, देखना है जो कितना बाजुए कातिल में है। करता नहीं क्यों दूसरा कुछ बातचीत, देखता हूं मैं जिसे वो चुप तेरी महफिल में है। So Kushwaha sir, I am here to give you a very short introduction about you, and most of the part of the introduction I would like to do it through a question answer session. So Wing Commander Satyam Kushwaha sir is a veteran, a fighter pilot, an entrepreneur, an innovator, a geospatial evangelist, a national security strategist with an experience of more than 26 years. He has about 1,000 hours of fighter flying experience and expertise in GSI enabled mission planning. During the tenure of Defense Specialist at National Security Council Secretariat, you have initiated and steered various and several policies reforms as well as programs for national importance. During your illustrated Air Force career of 26 years, you have gained expertise in the area of military aerospace, campaign planning, policy of space and geospatial, national security strategies, a dual use application in space and geospatial uh, intelligence systems, multiple agency collaborative planning reforms. You have represented India several times in United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management Summits, and you have worked towards the safeguarding India's interest in the world body. Your innovation of satellite image and geo-intelligence analysis, you were awarded commendations by Chief of Air Staff and Chief of Integrated Defense Staff. And you've also given a letter of appreciation by Southern Command of Indian Navy for timely and accurate geospatial inputs along with the suggested action plan, which was effectively used by Indian Navy as well as civil administration for serving countless lives in Ernakulam district during the Kerala floods in 2018. Your your deep tech startup in quantum security domain has made India proud and deployed its first quantum security enabled video conference as well as the messenger system. Your groundwork for setting up of uh, I would like to know the full form of ISPA, sir. And the director of, as a director of ISPA, you were deeply engaged in various inter-ministerial decisions for shaping the space-related policies. You have coordinated efforts for building strong private space ecosystems for India's space aspirations and made India a strong space economy. You have also founded Kranti, which has a full form goes like this: knowledge, resource, network, technology, innovation, and integration, which was started by you in 2016, an online think tank and a volunteer group engaging the nation building and social service, deeply involved with saving lives during COVID second wave and helped saving more than 3,500 Indians across the country absolutely free of cost, sir. So we should take a lot of pride in talking about you, sir. My first and the foremost question to you is what what would be your most splendid experience in your uniform, filled with leadership and passion and valor to wake up the feeling of patriotism in the youngsters present here in the forum today, which they will learn and look forward to a splendid career in the Indian Air Force. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your kind words. And to the previous speaker, Amitji, it's very inspiring the kind of work that you're doing. And I'll be very happy to be associated with you in this. Uh, Coming to the Indian Air Force, it was my childhood dream. And I would not like to restrict it to one incident, but I would like to talk about the journey, if the time permits. The Indian Air Force was my cherished dreams in class one. When I first saw the fighter jets flying on top of my on my rooftop, and it was since then I was a mad kid running after every sound of a plane, and I do inspired to look outside, look outside the window even today. So that's the passion, the kid in me, which always keeps the zing for the fighter planes alive.
Absolutely right, sir.
I would say that my journey in the Air Force has been a very inspiring journey and a great learning experience, which has prepared me for various activities that I've done in my life from time to time, focus for making our nation great and strong. The most fascinating thing definitely at that time was active fighter flying, where especially over the Himalayas, uh, there's nothing that beats. I mean, that is one paid adventure, I would say. And but I think beyond just flying in a fighter cockpit, what it does to you is something about your attitude and your approach towards life. And that is, I think, more important because that is something which I have used in my real life to shape my uh, growth and in what I do in various forums today. And I think some of those aspects I like to talk about. And the first and most important thing is that nation comes first, always and every time. I mean, that has to be there in your DNA. I mean, many times when we look outside, we see a lot of dilution of our responsibilities as a citizen to the country and in a commitment to do various things. And I think it's very important for each citizen to realize this aspect. The second aspect,
Absolutely right, sir.
yes, ma'am. The second thing is that when, which I learned in my service is that if something has to be done, then it has to be done. There's no second way about it. And that when you have it in you, then you are unstoppable. Somebody can delay you, your enemies or your detractors will be only able to delay you, but the more they delay you, the more armed you are with more experience. And that finally
Absolutely,
it will
sir. The
happen.
tagline of Air Force also says, "Do you have it in you?"
Absolutely.
I'm getting goosebumps on that, sir. It
So,
says it and you follow it in principle in your lifetime, sir.
so, it,
Wonderful, sir.
so it has to be part of your soul. Your soul has to drive it. Uh, the third thing is whatever you do, it's not a job. If you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. But don't waste people's time or your time. But when you do it, then it has to be done with your soul and your passion. Because
Absolutely,
once you
sir.
do
Your
it that
passion
way,
and valor flows with that, sir.
yes, so nobody can stop you then. And that is what has, I think, given me some success in life. The
Some
next thing,
success, sir, it's a huge pillar of success.
mhm,
We look forward to your growth and your success, sir. The country is proud to have you with us today, sir.
thanks for your kind words, ma'am. But I think that I still have miles to go. There are many more eminent people around us who've done much more. Uh, I'm just trying to do my bit. The most important, next important thing is teamwork. You can't achieve everything by your own self. Many times we live under that impression that I can do this and I can do that. I think that is another important thing that I learned in my service career is that having the right team uh, is everything, and that's why when you make teams, it's very important to bring people with the right value system together, because it's a value system that allows you to sustain relationships, whether it is at an interpersonal level or at an organizational level. And you may have the best of business say outcomes possible in a relationship, but if your cultural and the value system is not matched, it will not go on beyond a certain point. Then the most important thing is decision making. I think fighter cockpit teaches you that, because you're trained to take split second decision making. And for reaching that level, it's not that you just take a decision. You have to put in a lot of effort. So that means there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of awareness that you have to build. And it's not only about your subject, because many people confuse understanding that, oh, I've read 3 books, so I know about the subject. But what they forget is that how the subject interacts with the whole ecosystem, because we are human beings and there are different ecosystems that are working around us. So
Absolutely, sir.
unless
I
you take
can
a
correlate
360,
your thought
so
with
so
so many
yes,
experiences people have got. Till and
so
until you're well read,
yes,
nobody will be able to help you. It's only you who know
absolutely.
your subject more.
Yes, ma'am. So it's very important that you read and you have the ability to listen to others even after knowing everything.
Yes.
Because finally you have to work in an ecosystem and you have to take everybody together. You can't build a Qutub Minar or a Taj Mahal overnight. You know, it has efforts and skills required for many, many people. So that is something which is very important. And the last thing is that one needs to stand for himself. There are many times when you in your career you will come across an opportunity where you can either get a sharp career growth, or you may feel that things are going to end just because you're sticking to your value system. I have
Absolutely,
chosen
sir.
value system in my life, uh,
Absolutely.
and at that time it did happen that I lost many opportunities.
Mhm.
But I still felt that I should get proper sleep at night, because unless you sleep properly at night, you'll not be able to make a difference the next day.
Absolutely.
And I talk it more from a moral propriety perspective. Basically, what I mean to say is that we all need to get rich in life. Everybody aspires that I must have all the resources and the best of the things around me. But it's very important that the journey that you follow, that is more important. Uh,
Absolutely, sir.
because that is what will make it more sustainable and acceptable to the people around you.
Yes.
So I didn't talk about any flashy things as a fighter pilot's career, because yes, that's an important part of me. But I think my lifespan has these important learnings in life. Many more, but I think these are some important things that I feel are important.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for those valuable words and your suggestions and your deep learnings you have acquired through so many years of your experience, sir. I have a very special question here, sir. We have been hearing about satellite and space learning and knowledge sharing and all. My specific question to you is, what is your specialized area of innovative work in satellite imaging and geo-intelligent analytics, sir? So could you please throw some light on this?
Sure, ma'am. So what I did was in the classified domain, so I'll let it remain there. But what I would say is that I have been an out of the box thinker. So I never like to follow a conventional path when I do things,
Mm-hmm.
and I always like to question myself as I
Sir,
go.
if you allow me out of box,
Yes.
I have a typical example from my life, sir.
Yeah.
As a kid, I wanted to learn how to make a bomb. And as a girl, making bomb and knowing about the explosive content was never known in the country. I'm talking as of almost 45 years back.
Yes.
My father and my parents were, my relatives were scared. They thought ये लड़की तो गुंडी बनेगी या ISI agent बनेगी. But then, like you said, lot of reading is there, lot of learning is there, lot of sharing is there, lot of information research is there. I continue to do that, sir. And today, very proudly, I can say I'm one among the first munition officers who's qualified as an ammunition, armament, and missile expert, sir, from the defense services.
Very
So I'm
proud to
so
be.
proud to say that, sir. So it
No, no,
resonates with each and every Fauji. What we decide, the
yes,
dreams come true in reality, sir. So you
absolutely.
are one more example of that, sir.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
please go
So,
ahead.
so the thing is basically, I had a thought in my mind that there's a problem that I was supposed to solve, and I thought that it could be, there was a very conventional approach which was on for about 15, 20 years in the system,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that this approach needs to be changed because it has limitations, and the kind of outcomes that are coming of the traditional approach were not very convincing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So then I did my own research on it. It was to do with tunnels and things to that effect. So
Okay.
I used to take leave, go to say Joshimath. My parents were there. Luckily, I had access to certain places where I could. So I actually spent a lot of my time in tunnels and then actually working out the how the material comes out and how does it look through satellites and
Okay.
so I did my own research on that.
What is the
And
system that we use for satellite imaging, sir?
ma'am, there are satellites both.
Okay.
Yeah, so those things are available there.
Yes.
If I get into that, it will take this conversation very
Sure.
long.
Sure. The
Yeah,
idea is
but
not that,
yeah.
sir.
So aim was that how do I devise a new approach to do my analysis?
Mm-hmm.
And based on that effort that I put in, I came out with my own approach to the subject matter, and I was able to successfully solve the problem. And it saved this country a lot of money too. At a
Okay.
certain place where I applied, it did demolish a lot of traditional thought process at that time, which some people took it pleasantly, some people did not take it because their assessments were questioned.
Mm-hmm.
But so be it. I mean, why should I be scared about
Okay.
my research? So that's how I did it, and I've written some publications on it also, but they are in the classified domain. I cannot talk about it.
Sure. Splendid, sir. Splendid work done there, sir. My next question to you is, what is a deep technology startup for quantum security? And what did you really do to make India proud, sir? We would like you to please elaborate that part, sir.
Okay. So I would say that first of all, it's our team. It's not me. It's our team
Mm-hmm.
which has done this work. So we, when we were, when I left the armed forces, or rather I started my second career, it was a deep-rooted desire that I make India secure, or I give India a secure platform where we would not live under the shadow of being snooped upon. And especially if all these social media platforms that we see, or all messenger platforms we see, and including this platform which we're using, all of them use data analytics and they try and get into you.
Mm-hmm.
And they may claim whatever they may claim, but I don't trust them.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to create our own platform which we could trust upon,
Okay.
where I sell peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you see the behavior pattern here, we are okay to somebody, maybe a Firangi company snooping onto you, but you don't want the government to snoop onto you. I mean,
Yeah.
that is attitude. So that's how people use Signal and something and something. So I said, why should people even go out? We should have something of our own. So that was the desire that led me to create these two platforms. So
Absolutely.
without naming,
Creating a stronger backbone for the
yes,
country, sir.
yes. So we have done that. So quantum based security technologies have been used in it to make them much more resilient than anything that exists in the world today. So uh, uh, it is a sensitive technology, I would say. So I will leave it at that since it's an open platform.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much for that, sir. So my next question to you is, please let us know about your groundwork that you have done for setting up of ISPA, for the benefit of the audience who are present here, sir.
Okay, so ISPA is Indian Space Association.
Mhm.
So the ISPA was created on the directions of the Honorable Prime Minister when the industry members reached out to them seeking his help in allowing the private industry to grow in various ways. So based on that, my DG that time, he was tasked, he is Lieutenant General Bhatt. So he was the one who was tasked to set up this ecosystem. And I joined this effort somewhere in mid-Jan, Feb. So I'm talking about December 2020. So that was the time when this whole thing started. And I joined the initial groundwork for setting up somewhere in Feb, also Feb, March or so. And we were formally launched on 11th of October last year by the Honorable Prime Minister. And we are an industry body, and our job is to facilitate policy advocacy and to be the one voice of the space industry and engage with the government in creating opportunities as well as resolving policy issues and things to that effect. So when we talk of space, it talks the entire life cycle, which means the ground manufacturing infrastructure, the launch vehicle infrastructure, the launch vehicle, the satellite manufacturing, satellite of, and thereafter the payloads and the subsystems that come with it, the testing, the validation, uh, the data that comes out of it, the data analytics, data management, the entire ecosystem that comes with that, then concept, design, manufacturing, operations, management. So the full gamut of things of that. Then space situational awareness, GIS, something like what you have the GPS. So it's finally it's about the GNSS, the GNSS systems, then the infrastructure, safety, security, astronomy, education, uh, knowledge sharing, skilling, building partnerships across the globe to facilitate Indian industry, then investments, then technology per se as a vertical infrastructure. So it's a full gamut of things that come under this. And we have been right now is in fact is the right time when a lot of policy discussions are happening to kind of take the vision of the Prime Minister into the execution phase. So there are a lot of structural changes that have happened. There's an institution called Msmes, which has been set up as a single window body to handle all commercial activities of space.
Absolutely right, sir. The
Yes.
country's image is changing to become an intellectual country for the globe to look forward for the right path to be shown to the world, sir.
Yes.
I think
So
it's the right time for us to
so
quantify things that we can do intellectually.
yes. So our vision is that we capture about 25% of the space economy in the next 25 years. So that's my single
Wonderful.
point aim and vision, for which I am working with our industry members under the leadership of our chairman and our DG, and coming out with some actionable things that will happen. You shall soon be hearing about it in times to come. I don't want to preempt that as at
Fantastic,
this.
sir. That is superb. That is superb. We're so proud of you, sir. My next question is, you have another feather in your crown, sir. You've initiated Kranti, an online think tank and a voluntary group engaging in national building and the national social services. I'm sure this must be very close to your heart. as it has been growing in multiple folds. Please share your views and thoughts on how did this came up and what you have done to see it flourishing in the present form today, sir.
Okay. So Kranti was created by me in September 2016 when I was in you can say there was a set of geospatial refinements or reforms that I was trying to push when I was in the National Security Council Secretariat. And my areas of focus were policy, organization, structures, programs, and technology,
Mhm.
national mapping, and things to that effect. So at that time, when I was getting into the policy, I used to hear from a lot of people that the policies were not carrying the sense of what the citizens or the industry desired it many times. So I created a platform where I could have the views of the industry taken on board, so that their sensitivities could be, made part of the policy. So it started as that, and we had some of very senior members of the industry in that at that time. And slowly then these groups evolved because somebody wanted to then discuss some other subject and then some other subject. So today I run about 111 groups spread over 61 themes
Wow,
of
that's
nation building.
something, sir.
So
That's some good
Kranti,
number.
has evolved from a policy discussion forum to a platform for nation building. And that's why I said that there are 3, 4 core principles that we follow in Kranti. And
Mhm.
one is that it is about India, nation first, always and every time. And we discuss issues of national interest on nation building.
Mhm.
And they're absolutely strictly apolitical, non-religious, non-cultural. So those issues do not come at all there.
Absolutely.
And we handle various spectrums from social aspects to technology aspect to issues that need attention at national level, as well as on the health front. So we have been silently contributing, and this is something which I want our viewers to understand, that many times people are more interested in seeking visibility than bringing a change.
Mhm. How do
My,
you think youth can contribute towards
I'll
your
come to that. I'll
initiative of Kranti? Sir.
come to that. I'll come to that. So this is an important message that I wanted to give. That many times we are just focused on visibility.
Mhm.
Kranti actually was in existence for till last year, about 5 years, but it was only on need to know basis. But we were silently impacting important policy refinements by giving processed inputs to the people whom it mattered.
Mhm.
And
Silent
we are
workers.
happy that we were able to bring that change. And we never sought, nobody even knew kahan se aaya kaise, काम हुआ.
Yeah.
So कभी कभी ना राष्ट्र निर्माण जब करना होता तो उसके लिए ये जरूरी नहीं है कि कौन झंडा लेके आगे खड़ा हुआ है.
Yes.
If you feel that you can bring a change, then you be the change, bring that change, convert it into an actionable information and give it to a person who can. There are a lot of flag
Work
bearers
on.
who like to consume this information and take glory. Let them take glory because finally you are doing it for your next generation.
Absolutely, sir.
So it depends on how
Absolutely.
you approach a subject. So Kranti actually was built on that concept and it continues to do that. When COVID started coming to India, that is the time we envisaged that there are, because of my understanding of the national architecture, because of my experience in NSCS. So we first came out with a document that how should India respond, and we gave it to the people at the right level,
Mhm.
hoping that it would have been used. I will not seek to take any credit कि हमने उसको दिया इसने किया. No. Next, then, and Kranti is about team. It's not about me.
Yes. Yes.
There are silent, faceless, capable people who drive it because they eat, drink, breathe, nation building, and nation first. So it's a different type of madness, which is less seen and heard outside.
Absolutely.
And these people, when they come together, what has Kranti done is it has proved that if there are like-minded, collaborative people who feel that their 3 kg of gray matter can be used gainfully for nation building, what disruption it can bring. So
Mhm.
we came out with a lot of documents on standards for PPEs, for ventilators, because we knew that government was going into overdrive, there was a deficiency. So
Mhm.
industry capacity has to be set up. So who educates the bureaucrats? They don't have time. So we started, compiling this information and sending it to the right people. Then we got into blood. So in the first wave, plasma used to be a huge challenge. So we got into plasma management. Then came the second wave. Now, second wave was a deadly one. All know why, where, how it happened. What we did was that we were fortunate to have 400 girl students from Kalindi College, LSR College, RRU University, and JDMC Delhi. And we created a task force. So we had 40 groups which were supporting 3 primary groups. So it was a process. So one was into data management, one was into validation, one was into emergency response. And we had 6 verticals on ambulance response, blood response, equipment response, evacuations, validation.
Absolutely methodical.
It was a So it is a video on YouTube that exists on this Satyam group. If you just scan for my name and Krant, KRNTII, you'll find it.
Yes.
So it was a kind of a war room situation where patients up to SpO2 30 we've handled, and especially people who had nobody, or they did not have any resources. And trust me, those are the times when getting a patient into a hospital could take up to 6 hours to 12 hours to 14 hours to even 36 hours, because the bed availability was a problem. And I can proudly say about my team is that we did not lose a patient on the road because of us. There were family members who took some stupid decisions because of which 1 or 2 people got lost. But so the uniqueness of our planning was that our oxygen calculations were very, very paid attention on. So we had a proper working group, like a OT hota na, operation theater.
Yes.
So the one person is handling, say, connecting with the patient. There's a doctor who's live. So he's connecting, he's asking kya karna hai, kaise karna hai. Based on that, the oxygen team is giving live supply of inputs. The bed team is giving information. There's a navigation team which is telling which route is to be taken.
Okay, wonderful.
और अगर यहाँ से नहीं जाना है तो उधर किधर मुड़ना है, उधर नहीं मुड़ना है तो इधर मुड़ना है, यहाँ से इतना टाइम मिलेगा. तो अगर यहाँ नहीं है तो उसका रिप्लेनिशमेंट किधर होना है. So
very well planned and executed.
Yes, and it was being done in real time. And there were times when there was 5, 6 cases happening simultaneously in the same group for different geographies.
Absolutely.
That means so I recall a case where we evacuated a lady from Haridwar. Her SpO2 was 35, something like that, and she was in her 7th month of pregnancy. So from the time she left her home till Delhi, we were constantly monitoring live locations and keeping every hospital on the way on hot standby, that should something happen, where is she to go? And worst case scenario, the lady goes, how do we extract the baby out? So it had gone to that level. Finally, they reached Madhugar Rainbow. They were not very happy there. They said, I'll go to Fortis. So I went there in person. I waited in the parking for a few hours. They came. They said, "Nee, Fortis mein baat ho gaya hai." But the body language taught me that no, there's something wrong. Rushed. They had only 20 minutes of oxygen left.
Okay.
So I just, Rachna is part of my bed team that time. I just told her, Rachna, I need a bed now. They responded in 1.5 minutes. They connected to Metro Hospital. So from Fortis to Metro Hospital, Palam Vihar, it is 31 minutes of navigation time. Oxygen remaining was 20.
Okay.
So you understanding. So then calling up the people, keeping an additional ambulance on the way from Columbia, we moved there.
It into the next ambulance.
Keeping the doctor on the gate ready. So we went into that level. Or even when a person used to be, the ambulance is say moving at 2 o'clock in the night in the colony, and the colony's got narrow roads and high buildings. So we knew that the GPS lock will break. So we had to put a person on the gate that he will guide the ambulance, because you do not waste even a minute.
True.
Similarly, your oxygen concentrators, sometimes they were overeating. So now you manage the patient in that time, that you switch off the concentrator, then you monitor, his SpO2 is dropping 50, 48, 49, 45, 31. Okay, put the machine on because it will not got cooled. And there's a person with a video camera, video call, who is monitoring only this machine. So we had segregated. Similarly, there were cases of say, abhi ambulance aa raha hai, prepaid kar dijiye. So we busted those networks. We knew that there's, there is a lot of fraud happening here.
Yeah, very true.
At times when you have to take a call that no, I will go for an ambulance which is 1 hour away.
Yes.
And the biggest challenge was the risk, because we were doing it as a voluntary effort. And should somebody goes and somebody does a case on you, we were defenseless. So my students used to ask that, sir, what if things go wrong? And I said, okay, glory is yours, failure is mine. I'll take the blame. Because you have to do it. Because at that time you cannot say कि यार इसको बचाने में मेरी लग जाएगी, तो देखा जाएगा.
आज जब हम आपकी ये कहानी सुन रहे हैं सर, और क्रांति के कामों की तारीफ सुन रहे हैं आपसे, हम केवल इतना ही बोल सकते हैं,
and I can only say that this was possible because of the team that is there. Kranti is nothing without a team. It's just that I created it, and I
every hand and every brain would have added value to this
and it
program.
continues to do till date. Even today it happens, and it happens 24 hours.
So from the country and from the people present here as an audience, we would like to only say Shat Shat Naman aapki Kranti team ko, sir.
Same here, ma'am. I also feel the same for them.
There is so much, sir. There is so much to know and understand from you, sir. Yet time is the biggest enemy of us today. We can continue to go on, sir. And as a moderator, I need to control the time.
Sure. Thank you
so
so
I
much.
would really, with a very heavy heart, I would like to really take on the next powerful business person who's waiting in the queue, sir. Maybe I will have more questions to you when we come on to the common question line, sir. Thank you so much. And I would like to end your thought process saying that कि आपके लिए केवल यही वाक्य सही जाता है सर, खुद को कर बुलंद इतना कि बंदा तुझसे पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. यहाँ तो पूरा कारवां आपके साथ है सर, आप बताइए क्या करना है. We'll follow you, sir.
We all are part of the same process, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for doing wonderful job and continue to do that, sir. We take a lot of pride in, you and your team, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Going forward, my next speaker is now Lieutenant Commander C.V. Prakash. Lieutenant Commander C.V. Prakash is an Indian Navy submariner who has served for 14 years. He is an alumni of Sainik School, Bijapur, Karnataka, and a National Defense Academy, Khadakwasa graduate in 1983. He became a specialist in anti-submarine warfare to serve for more than 8 submarines, both in Foxtrot and Kilo class. You are also a proud sonar officer of Indian Navy Services, Sindhu Kirti, and the first commissioning crew of this mighty Kilo class boat, which was commissioned in Riga, Latvia, in the erstwhile United Soviet Union. If you have one more life, you would want to be a submariner again, doing the highly risky and perilous jobs. I'm also known that you've been called by the name of CV, the chief instructor, consultant, and a CEO. You are a pioneer of soilless agriculture and hydroponics in India since 2008. You have served the Indian Navy for 14 years and prematurely retired in year 1997. After a short employment stint in Dubai, you moved to Australia in year 2000, where you learned the science of soilless agriculture from the best gurus in the field at that time. You also trained 1 lakh, it is basically 12,500 students and consulted more than 25 commercial soilless farmers, and backed by rock soil in 22 years experience in the realm of soilless agriculture. You have immense contribution for unmanageable sacrifice that you've achieved, which we are going to hear from you today, sir. Let us hear your success story from Lieutenant Commander C.V. Prakash. I will be more than happy to take the question answer sessions here with Prakash, sir. My first question goes to you, sir. What has been your unique experience in defense as a submariner and as a sonar officer? And we are really curious to know about you being a first commissioning crew to the almighty Kilo class boat, which was commissioned in Riga, Latvia, in the erstwhile Soviet Union. Over to you, sir. Lieutenant Commander C.V. Prakash, sir.
Thank you, Captain. It's an honor for me to be here with you on this very special occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And there's no greater pleasure for an ex-serviceman to be called upon to speak at such a beautiful forum and be able to share my experiences in two careers. One is in the Indian Navy and later on as a Jai Kisan, which I am still today at the age of 60.
So I think the dialogue of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan goes very well to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's 14 years in the Navy and 22 years in the realms of soilless agriculture. So my experience in the Indian Navy, one of the finest navies in the world, it's a greatest honor to have served in one of the best navies that one can imagine. My mom did not allow me to be an Air Force pilot because my dad was in the Air Force, and she was very emotional, and she always said, no, son, you cannot be a pilot, because wherever my dad was posted, there would always be the incidents of crashing and a few officers losing their lives and things like that. So she was very emotional about it. She never allowed me. She said, no, you will not. Please don't do it. So their emotion played a big role. But I've always been a rebel, a kind of non-conformist, in the sense that just now Wing Commander said, I don't take no for an answer.
Actually, sir, if you allow me, I think most of the Faujis are rebellion from the birth, They have that, I think our blood is not red in color. It's got a different color of Fauji,
Yeah,
you all of us have the quality of being rebellious at our own space and aura, sir.
Yeah, my rebellion does not make me anti-establishment in any case, but I'm a rebel against all kinds of things that do not allow me to progress. So my fight is always has been and will be always with me, within myself. I fight with myself. My obstacles in life are all, when I look at what is the obstacle in life, I realize that it points back to me. So I try to overcome those obstacles. And like the great Napoleon said, I only see my objective. The obstacle should give way. I am also dog determined in whatever I do. Like Wing Commander has said, if I take up a job, I take it up because I really want to do it. That doesn't give me happiness. So, well, going back to what happened. So when I joined the National Defense Academy, I opted for the Navy. And then after 3 years of NDA and 1 year of sea training and midshipman time, I opted for the submarine branch. Little did my mother know at that time that the submarines are even more perilous work, more dangerous.
I wanted to hear it from you, sir.
Yeah.
Because fighter pilot is, you still see it in the air. This is something which goes deep into the ocean.
No, at least Wing Commander had the luxury of flying for 45 minutes, 1 hour, and come back and then remove his overalls. And
you've been going deep and living there your life, sir.
Yeah, so the longest I possibly would have sailed was during Operation Brass Tacks in 1987, when my submarine was very close to Pakistan, and we were all hot-blooded, and we were, just waiting to launch our torpedoes and do all kinds of things. But of course, it didn't go through for whatever reasons. But I still remember those 90 days, no bath, no shaving, changing over our clothes once in 3 days. It was, and I was very young at that time. I just finished my sea training and got my dolphins. It was one of the most interesting times in my life. Many people ask me what was special about what you think you did in the Indian Navy. To be honest with you, I did my job. And I think doing my job itself is more than anything else. And like
doing your job honestly, doing it in a unique way, in the trained form that has been given to you, itself is enormous.
So, like my father always told me, my father from the Air Force, he said, son, there is only one way, and that is, there's only one way, and that is the right way. And I follow that even today. And I always taken the harder right instead of the easier wrong. I'm sorry, I live very close to a railway station, but India is moving.
Yes.
So the thing was that when I joined the submarines, it was very exciting. It's a very, very hard job. One has to be a thorough professional to be able to earn their dolphins, like a fighter pilot for that matter. So the training went on, and it was such an exciting life. We made such camaraderie. We were team workers. We never said, I achieved it. We say, we achieved it, or it is us who did it. We always had that feeling. So I still go back to Simon Sinek, who speaks a lot on YouTube and talks about management in life and various things. He says an Air Force pilot who's giving ground cover to an army unit, he doesn't even know who the guys below are.
Yeah.
And there was a pilot who went twice around when he was told only go one round and come back. He went second time just to ensure that his people on the ground are safe in Afghanistan somewhere. So when he was asked, why did you do it at such peril? He said, I did it for them because they would have done it for me.
Absolutely, sir.
So, so as a Fauji, as a naval officer, or having been a sailor in the Indian Navy, whenever I did something, it was always nation first. It was not for whom I'm doing it. It was my nation first. Everything, just sort of melted away in front of nation. So it was a lovely journey for me in the submarine branch. I went on to become a specialist in anti-submarine warfare. I did my specialization in Cochin at the anti-submarine warfare school. Then I was posted as a torpedo officer on INS Sindhu Dwaj. And that was very interesting because on that particular boat, we went on a war patrol. You know, submarines go on war patrols during their operational tenure. So we went, I am not supposed to take names or tell you where we went, but we went somewhere in the Far East and we were spying. And we had this beautiful occasion, and I was a torpedo and the sonar officer. And we were dived around 100 meters below, and everything was quiet and everything was nice. Everything was normal. And then suddenly I'm sitting in the sonar room and I can hear the propellers of at that point in time, we didn't know what it was, but then we could hear the propeller sounds because we are in passive mode. We don't transmit, else we get caught. So there was this beautiful hydroponic effect, or HE as we call it, which was the propeller sound of a typical submarine motor, electric motor. I reported that to the captain, and captain said, okay, track the movement of that particular boat. This cat and mouse game went on and on and on. And the funny part was, for some reason, we felt we might have been detected because the other submarine started actively pinging on us. When another submarine is actively pinging on you, that means he's got you on his sights, on his gun sight. But then I think my happiest moment at that point as a sonar officer was because sound does not travel the same way as it travels in air as it does in water. It's a very, very different,
more denser media. It conveys, it travels rather faster.
It is not only denser, Asha. It is so funny. It's so amazing that one of our biggest subjects in specialization course in anti-submarine warfare was a subject called underwater sound. And the other one was tactics. These were the two main papers. Others were all very easy to learn. Okay. But underwater sound helped me, the teaching, the learning, and over the years, what I'd learned in the submarines came in handy. So captain was relying completely on me because in a submarine, the sonar is the only eyes and ears of the submarine. And the captain, then captain said, now what do we do? What should we do? So we kept changing depth. We kept doing different kinds of things. And 4 hours it went on, and still the pinging continued from the other side. And now the funny part is when you're underwater, you really don't even know how far the target is away from you. The guy could be just above you. He could be below you. You could be on a collision course for all you know. And I still remember my captain those days, Lieutenant Commander Fazal, brilliant commanding officer. He relied completely on me. And he said, CV, well done. It came to a point where normally, unless in wartime, we never opened the torpedo bow cap. Imagine we opened the bow caps, 2 bow caps of 2 torpedo tubes, and we were ready because we know one thing. If they have fired at you, you better fire or you're dead. So we came to a point where we actually had to open the bow caps. Of course, after some time, that other submarine moved away. Everything was normal. But those 4 hours in my life, it was like hair-raising, goosebumps. But at the same time, there was so much of adrenaline flowing because those days I was just about 27, 28 years old, and it was real fun. So like that, we have had many, many occasions on submarines where we have had fires on board underwater. We have had flooding underwater. And when somebody just shouts flooding, flooding, flooding in so-and-so compartment, we are taught not to lose our cool. We are taught to be cool so that you can take action correctly. So that went on in the submarine arm. I finally, in Bombay, I was with the Commodore Submarines West as a torpedo officer. My job was to look after all the weapons requirements. I used to work with the Naval Armament Depot. It was such fun. And I also had the privilege of firing a test 71 ME electric torpedo, which is meant for test firing, and we fired a salvo. And when the reports came, both torpedoes had run true, which means the torpedoes, if it was in wartime, would have hit the target bang on, spot on. So that those kind of things always egged me and inspired me. And after I left the Navy, then the story changed. It was a completely different transformation. I worked in the corporate world in Dubai for about 3 years. And yes, Ashaji, that has been the journey till then.
So to go on to your second inning of career, my second question to you is, how did you fall in love with soilless agriculture? As we all know, falling in love is easy. We would like to know, or rather, please share how you rose up to the challenges and sacrifice you made till now with soilless agriculture, sir.
I thought submarining was a difficult profession. But then I jumped into something which I never knew at all.
Absolutely. But
And
I think the connection is there, sir. The water was there and water is here also with you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in the submarines, we moved through the dark waters underneath, right? So we always were moving through the unknown. So for me, moving through into another unknown was a much easier step, I guess. Now, you asked me how I fell in love with soilless agriculture. That's a beautiful story. After I worked for 3 years in Dubai, I migrated to Australia. And when I migrated to Australia, I had this on the first month of reaching there. I was, when you're a Fauji, you don't get much chances to work in the corporate world. At the best, they may give you an admin job or a security officer's job. But well, it's okay. I walked into Australia. I started a small company for consulting to connect businesses in Australia with the petroleum and oil and gas companies, because that's where I worked in Dubai. Anyway, my friend took me to a beautiful farm one day and said, come, I'll show you something. So I went there, and it was just 1 month after I'd come back from Dubai. And he showed me 2 greenhouses where there were tomatoes and cucumbers growing in each of them. And I walked close by and I saw these were growing in things like, small little grow bags. And I said, hey, this doesn't look like soil. He said, of course not. And then I asked him, what is it? He said, you know what? It's growing in something called cocoa peat. I said, what's that? I've never heard of that. He said, it comes from coconut, from the husk of the coconut. Then then he said, this is an Indian resource which foreigners are using to the hilt. Now, when you ask me how I fell in love, it's like asking a person, how did you fall in love with another person? You don't have an answer, right?
Yes.
So that's exactly what happened to me. I just fell in love. I said, no more consultancy, no more nothing. I'm going to learn this subject. And that was a very immediate decision that I took. From there on, I started learning with lots of farmers in Australia, worked on the farms, worked even at the lowest level as an absolute casual labor kind of a guy. But I said, I'm going to learn this and learn it as good as possible. So for 8 years, I worked in Australia. And in 2008, October 2008, I brought this technology for the first time to India. But then when you bring in a new idea, like some Greek philosopher said, great ideas have always faced violent opposition from mediocre minds.
Sheer resistance for the growth to come, sir.
So for me, my purpose was very clear. My purpose was very clear. I really did not bother what people would say. They would ridicule me. They would reject me, maybe even throw a few tomatoes at me or eggs at me. It doesn't matter. But I know, because for 8 years, I've seen it work. And why won't it work in a country like mine?
Yes.
What do we lack? So I brought this technology. I started by skilling, because to do anything in life, one needs to have sufficient amount of skill. So I have been skilling people for the last 14 years. This October 23rd will be 14 years. And I have trained more than 12,500 students in this line in short and long-term courses. I do 90-day training programs in Bangalore. I train people for full 90 days without a holiday, single day's holiday, no Monday, no Sunday, no Diwali, no Dasera, no nothing. And I work every day. So that's how I inspire them. For me, there's no Sunday and Monday.
So there is a fire in the mind, and now there's a fire in the belly, sir.
Yes.
So for the fire in the belly, you got to work. You got to work. There is no holidays.
Yes, Asha. I wake up in the morning like a startup. I tell my friend Rajiv, I am the longest startup in the world. I've been starting up for the last 22 years.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
I wake up in the morning with the zeal and enthusiasm that I'm going to do something different from what I did yesterday. If I do the same thing every day, I would get the same result every day. So what I do is I wake up and I tell myself, you're going to be doing something very different. And I wake up in a creative mode. I always think every waking moment of my life should be given to creativity. People ask me, aren't you worried about the competition? And I look here and there and I say, hey, what do you mean by competition? I am no competitor. I'm a creator.
Absolutely.
Competitors are people who have nothing else to offer, nothing new to offer. But a creative person can come up with various different things. In my line today, many years back when I started, people said, oh, you will be taken up, your business will be taken away by big corporates, Birlas, the Tatas will come in. And even today, there is not a single institution in Asia possibly, which has got a 90-day training program. I'm proud to say that I have a CSR program. I'm a one-man show. I'm a private limited company with Rajiv helping me, and we're just two directors, but I carry this company on a day-to-day basis. And I can tell you, I'm so proud that I also do a CSR program where I'm not needed to do it by law. Last year, I trained 4 students. They were from lower middle class or income families. 2 of the girls were MSc agriculture. Their parents had worked hard and their parents were 4Gs too. I just put out a note on Facebook, a post, and I got these 2 girls. They were MSc agriculture, and that also in plant genetics and plant breeding. But you know, an MSc agriculture walks out of the college, they don't even get 10,000 rupees as a salary. I'm so proud to say that when they added the 90-day course to their resume, they got jobs starting with about 33,000 rupees in hand.
Wow.
And that is what I believe. And like Amrit ji said, this nation can only go forward if there is skill. Yes. Without skill, we can have a lot of population. We can say we have demographic dividend, but all that dividend actually is of no use unless and until people are trained. And sorry to say, our way of teaching in this country is all curriculum based, but it's not vocation based. Moment it becomes vocation based, you know, my students are in such great demand in this industry because the skills are hardly there. Sir, so they ask for their salary.
Sir, to add on to the knowledge sharing from your end, sir, the present government has taken up education policy reforms where they have made the skill base as the basis of education, sir. So thank you so much. I think there is a lot of value addition that you are already giving. The government has already started implementing on ground, sir. That's yes, really wonderful. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful to know that, sir. So my next question to you is...
So we cannot always wait for the...
Go yes, ahead, we should not. We should not, sir. Yeah. How did you become a maverick in everything you do as an entrepreneur, still running at the age of 60, sir? What drives you? Why you are so young at heart, sir? How do you get your energy, sir? What is the driving force for all that, sir?
You see, Ashaji, there is something called purpose and passion. I always talk about it. Every Absolutely. Human being has been endowed naturally from his birth with some kind of latent passion, purpose. The problem is most of us don't understand or don't see our life purpose. We miss our life purpose. We move around lost, unfocused. We try this, we try that, we go here, we come here, we stop something, we start something. And we are because of that not being focused, we don't really get that happiness that you want to get in life. In my case, my whole life's purpose itself is contribution, because contribution is the only thing that I leave behind. I know that there's nothing to take from this world. For me, giving in every way I can.
To share the valuable learnings of you to the youth who are present here, our humble submission, all the veterans who are here, you can know if you're following the checkbook rule book saying that the nation comes first, then the people, and then in the end comes me. So the idea here is you drive with passion, valor, and josh to see that what you have becomes a contribution towards the nation building. I think we all are coming to that point of sharing our contribution to the nation building. So please continue, sir. I think it is really enormous to learn and hear your story, sir.
Yes, I mean, see, somebody once told me, one Dr. Jagannath Rao, late Jagannath Rao sir, told me, he was an agriculturist himself, and he was a great admirer of my work when I was doing in India in the early 2010s. And he said, CV, you're doing a great job, but remember, know-how is of no use till you do how and show how. Wow. So I have been not just talking about things, I've been doing a lot of work in this field. I have not only teaching, I do a lot of research and development as well. Many people during the COVID times, for 2 years, we were mostly locked down. My students all went back home because their parents called them back. But luckily, being from the agriculture field, I took the benefit of government saying that agriculturists can work. So I had a lot of turmeric rhizomes or turmeric seeds lying around with me, and I had always grown turmeric and ginger. I've grown almost 80 different kinds of vegetable and medicinal crops in my life. But I said, these 2 years, okay, there's lockdown. I cannot sit quiet because the moment I wake up, I'm like a house on fire. So I said, okay, I'm going to try out this turmeric. I'm going to grow this turmeric. So what happened from the month of May onwards, I planted the rhizomes. They started growing, and I took it till its logical conclusion. That is the harvest time, which was in January. And you will not believe it. We grow it in a different way. We grow them in grow bags. And I put the 60-gram rhizome, which a farmer, if he puts 60 grams of rhizome in a field, if he expects any great harvest to come out of that one plant, if he gets 700 to 800 grams, he celebrates that at that moment. From a 60-gram rhizome, I got a harvest in a grow bag of as high as 8.13 kilograms.
Wow.
Now Amrit ji was talking about doubling farmers' income. 60 grams to 8,013 grams in 9 months. And not just turmeric, world-class turmeric. The same turmeric that is not known to give curcumin content of just about 3% at best in the field. In the 6.5 months when I tested it, it had 5.91% curcumin content. And curcumin, as all of you know, is a product that is in big demand, especially after COVID. The demand is so high because it's an anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, it's anti-everything. And you know, we Indians have turmeric every day.
Absolutely.
I tested my turmeric. It came out with no heavy metal traces at all. It came with no microbiological contamination at all. So we created a world-class turmeric. So what I did, that was done in a lab scale. But I believe that unless you take the lab to the land and prove it commercially, it has no meaning. So in January 2021, I started something called Mission Turmeric 2021, or in Hindi, Haldi Kranti. Haldi Kranti today is in its second year running. Last year, we had 25 growers growing all over India. There were 3 of them doing commercial projects. There were others whom I always tell people first learn. If you're new to something, learn it and then go commercial. There were again 22 people there. Everyone grew some great turmeric. Some of them, because they were new to it, could not make it. They did it, but they did not get that kind of yield. But then skill building started. A lot of things are happening. And it's a shame to say that India, I'm sure Amrit ji will agree with me, India produces almost 80% of the world's turmeric. And our turmeric doesn't go out of this country for curcumin. The people who produce curcumin in India bring turmeric from Vietnam, from Laos, from Cambodia. That's a real shame. Why cannot we produce some of the world's best turmeric? And we've been producing turmeric for more than 6,000 years. I'm not teaching a person how to grow turmeric, but I'm trying to teach him how to grow value turmeric, world-class turmeric. If we can send satellites to space, if we can launch satellites, we can launch rockets which launch satellites into orbit with such accuracy, why cannot we do something in agriculture? The problem I identified was people have not understood to a large extent that there is science in agriculture. The day we inject science into agriculture, India is going to change completely. So my journey, it's full of passion, it's still full of purpose. As long as I have my last pulse in my body, I am one guy, I'm not going to give up.
We can see it and we can feel it, sir. The Josh is still flowing, sir.
In between all this, I have grown papayas in soilless method. I've grown drumsticks, and you know, moringa is in great demand these days. I have done a lot of groundbreaking work. And the problem with me is I'm never happy or satisfied with what I have. I never rest on my oars, as we say in the Navy. For me, my biggest competition is myself. So every time I get to a point, I raise my own bar. I raise my bar. So when I said I got 8.13 kg of turmeric, I'm not happy. I want to make that 12 kg. So that's what inspires me, if you will. So this keeps me going.
Absolutely.
This is what keeps me going. Yes.
So let us continue, sir. My next question to you is, how did you find your purpose in life? How do you suggest the startups and the MSMEs to be aligned for a greater good in agriculture for our nation and sustaining the enthusiasm in doing that, sir? There are so many of us who are here. I think we can do this type of farming anywhere and everywhere in the country, sir. Even where the soil is not good, even where you don't get good water, rainwater is not available. I think this needs to be becoming the next Sangram and the Kranti for a country, sir. So how would you like to motivate and pass on the enthusiasm to the youngsters sitting here, sir? I would also like to take some of the tips and bits of this knowledge to do it in my terrace garden. If possible, I would love to do it, sir.
Yes. So like I said, you asked me how I found my purpose in life. I always knew my purpose in life was about contribution. I just needed a reason to kick it off. I had all the passion always with me. And when I like I said, when I came into soilless agriculture and I saw this whole thing, I fell in love with it and it became my baby. I eat it, I sleep it, I just live it. So for me, purpose was not the problem. There was enough passion. And when I came into the subject, I said it didn't take me very long to decide that this is my next career. So you asked me, how do I suggest that startups and MSMEs be aligned? As you know, startups are normally bootstrap people, right? Bootstrap people. For them, they have the ideas, like Mr. Parikh said, and MSMEs possibly have the capital and they have the technology. Now, technology must meet capital and marry each other in such a way that it gets scaled up. I am always a person who says, start small, skill up and scale up. Start small, skill up, scale up. I never ask a person to go 100 acres of turmeric if he doesn't have
so we have 2S here with the startups, you know.
Yes.
Skill up and scale ups. So,
so
rather three S, startup, skill up and scale ups. Wow, wonderful.
Yeah, startup, skill up, scale up. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I tell everybody. Anyway, so now MSMEs, when we talk of MSMEs are of different kinds. They do different kinds of things. And they're like, I'm so happy that Amit Parikh ji is also on the line. I mean, on the panel today. He's doing some great work. So there are a lot of young people who have the ideas, but it so happens that it either doesn't come out, or if it comes out, they don't know how to put it across, or they don't know how to explain. It's like Henry Ford. He was a 7th standard fail. Henry Ford, who started the Ford company. He designed, he knew that a V engine can be made, and he called his engineers and said, hey, I want you guys to make a V engine. They said, sir, it's not possible. So he said, I don't care. I'll give you 6 months time. How much money do you need? And Henry Ford said, I'll give you this much money, 6 months. I know it can be done. Now, this is how entrepreneurs are. Many a times we don't know what we are getting into, but we know somewhere that it can be done. So like I always say, if you can hold it in your head, you can have it in your hand.
Sir, we are at a forum today where we have brains, where we have efforts, and where we have capital coming from all the direction of our country, sir. Why can't we take it to a next level, sir?
We can. That's what I said.
Of course,
see,
we should, sir. We all should contribute towards that. And I think the zeal of a veteran and a Fauji born from within should take this up to a very different level, sir. Very, very different level. Like
yes,
from Wing Commander Satyam sir gave us Kranti Josh. You are giving us, waterless, soilless agriculture. I think this is what we need, sir. This is the need of the hour for our country to look into and take it up from here and ensure that we continue doing these activities to develop the brain and the strength of our country. And a country which is not strong in its agriculture production can never be, you don't have to feed your stomach from outside. You have to cultivate your own food. Only then you're sustaining yourself. And this is such a beautiful forum where you neither need a soil nor you need anything. So this is a wonderful idea. I think we all should learn something from here and take it up to a next level.
You see, Ashaji, the difference between defense, post-defense entrepreneurship and normal entrepreneurship, I can tell you what is the subtle difference. The subtle difference is this. The subtle difference is just this. When we were in the armed forces, when we did something, it was never nothing. It had nothing to do with finances or money or anything, right?
Yes.
we just did what we did. So when we get out of the armed forces, we just can't think money, and we're very poor at finances. We don't understand balance sheets, and we
Yes.
don't understand just to do
I
a
think
simple.
till today, sir, nobody does the personal financing is not so important for us.
No, even today, for a simple income tax return, I still need to go to my CA, because we were not we were not on that monetary lines, to say the least. So I will never call myself as an entrepreneur in that sense. I would think I'm a socialpreneur, because whatever I do, yes, it gives me a livelihood, because I left the Navy early. I don't get a pension. But I can tell you one thing, I never have looked at the money, because I always think of money as a means to get by. It's a facilitator. But at the end of the day, if you start with money in mind, then you don't have to be in this kind of agriculture and go through all its challenges. You would rather be in the stock market, or you could be somewhere else. You could be in real estate and make money. But for me, money has never been the prime mover or prime driver in my life. For me, it is absolute contribution from the heart. And if my dream is to make 500 minimum soilless, scientific, smart farmers who can go on to teach others, and it becomes a ripple effect.
Sir, I would also like to read the comments that we are getting in the comments box, sir. It says, great to see so many armed forces becoming entrepreneurs with unique business and ideas that we are flourishing here, sir. The nation comes first in front of the country. And then these are the people who are just going to follow our realms of thought, sir. This is so wonderful, sir. So wonderful. Somebody writes for you, sir. Lieutenant Colonel C.V. Prakash, sir, your experience as a submariner is so inspiring. And the 4 hours that you spent in the enemy submarine close to you gave goosebumps to them. There are people who are saying, kick first, kick hard, and keep kicking. So this is amazing, sir. We are leading a show. I think it's wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
Yeah. So Ashaji, it's all about contribution. When I sometimes think to myself, when I'm praying to God, I say, God, I really don't have anything to ask you anymore. What is it that you haven't given me?
So somebody is also mentioning the Kaizen mind is missing in the Indian agriculture. What do you have to say for this, sir?
Pardon?
Kaizen mind. Kaizen is
Kaizen. Yeah, the Kaizen mind.
Yes.
Yeah, the Kaizen mind. Like I said, you have to keep on innovating. You got to use science and technology in agriculture. And unless, like I said, if you do the same thing every day, you get the same result every day. And that is the definition of insanity. And that's what many people do. They wake up in the morning, they go to office, they do the same job, they come back, they go back. They're doing this all the time. And there is nothing that nourishes the soul. There is nothing.
Sir, it's basically the monotony is setting in, and they have come to a saturation and a stagnant point where there is no change.
Yes,
the world has to look for a change. Like Fauji's keep changing every place every 2 years. So I think that gives us the energy to continuously look for a new area to root your grounds, hold your grounds properly, go deep into it, and then establish yourself with a new aura. I think it comes very naturally to Fauji's.
Yes, it does, because when you go to war, you don't know whom you're going to be meeting in front of you.
Sir.
You just don't know. And if you think that you know everything and the enemy knows nothing, then you should be fooling yourself. You got to be prepared. You got to be prepared. And life throws challenges that we don't dream about, or we can, say it in advance what's going to come. So when you walk into the unknown, then that's when you see and you appreciate the light. So
absolutely right.
My journey has been that way, Ashiji. For me, nothing is impossible unless it's done. So, and my students always say, sir, you call us for 90 days for hydroponic training, but to tell you the truth, you actually mislead us. So one day I said, what do you mean? He said, you actually call us for skill building. And by the way, you use hydroponics as an alibi. So
wonderful. That's a wonderful statement, sir.
I get a lot of my students whose parents sometimes call me and say, what have you done to my child? So I say, what did I do? He's become so meticulous. He's become so careful about things. He now thinks differently. He's very particular when he's spending money, because I teach these guys, as a farmer, you got to be careful of the pennies so that the pounds take care of themselves. So in 90 days, it's inculcated into them.
I think we can have a new culture of farming in our country, sir, with your thought process. I think it is really reviving and refreshing to know that a farmer can also be a meticulous soldier behind it. Wonderful, sir.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So if I have to say a few things that will make for a good farmer, or for that matter, for good citizen, number one, to be able to do your job, learn the skill first. Learn the skill. Don't run behind Lakshmi first. Go to Saraswati ji, take the certificate from her, and the money will follow. But a lot of youngsters I see these days, and this is a message to all youngsters, don't get carried away by different kinds of technologies. Remember, in the forge, we have a saying, it is not the gun, it is the man behind the gun. The gun can be a Bofors gun, but if you don't know how to aim, it doesn't make a difference. So skill is important if you want to do anything in life. Then is your passion. Passion everybody's got. When you know your purpose, the passion gets lit up. So get to know your purpose and stick with it. Have perseverance, patience, honesty in what you do. Don't settle for mediocrity. Many people are happy with what they have or what they have achieved. You can always raise the bar and do better. And if we all Indians think that we can always raise the bar and keep achieving more. Now you can see we came back with 22 gold medals in Commonwealth Games. We never used to hear of a bronze medal when I was young. Now today, look at where we have taken sports. It is just that everyone has it in them. We all have it in us. And I'm telling you, at age 60, I still give a run for teenagers' money. So honesty, do small things. I learned certain things in my life from certain people, and some people who inspired me are like Mother Teresa, who said, do small things in a big way. If you brush your teeth, brush it well. If you do something, anything small, because small things lead to big things. And don't look at success as a destination. Look at success as a journey where you enjoy every small step that you do and you see the results and makes you happy. So don't run behind success. Success moves away from you when you run behind it. And if you allow me to say, if you have a question, you can ask me, Ashiji. Otherwise, I have one small, not share shayari, but something that I really love.
Please, sir, that would be a parting sentence of yours. Please go ahead with that, sir.
Yeah. This is a song, I think, I'm not sure who sung it, Sukhwinder ji or somebody sung it, but it's a beautiful, I'm not singing the whole song. I'm not telling you all the lines, but I believe in these words. सौगंध है मुझे इस मिट्टी की, मैं देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा. मेरी धरती मुझे पूछ रही है, कब मेरे कर्ज चुकाओगे. मेरा अंबर मुझसे पूछ रहा है, कब अपना धर्म निभाओगे.
Wow, fantastic, sir. Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure to be having you on the forum, sir, on the platform. It was really very, very informative, very, very energizing, new concepts coming up. And I think the youngsters today can also call themselves a smart farmer, a meticulous farmer from today onwards. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Ashiji.
Thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.
Please be on the panel. There will be some more questions which we will be throwing out to all of us. It will be good to go through that, sir.
Yeah, from the audience as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ashiji. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Moving on, I have Colonel Dinesh Mundry. Colonel Dinesh Mundry is an alumni of Sainik School, Bijapur, Karnataka, and a National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla graduate. He has served for 30 years in the Indian Army and has seen operations in India and abroad. He is a part of Indian peacekeeping force which went to Sri Lanka and has been a member of Indian military training team to Bhutan. In addition, he has seen counterinsurgency operations from a very close quarters for more than 8 years in his serving career. He has held a number of prestigious appointments and command assignments. He is a postgraduate in Defense and Strategic Studies from Madras University and a personal management degree holder from Pune University and a postgraduate diploma in Logistic and Supply Chain Management. Logistics, procurement, and supply chain are his core competencies. After his voluntary retirement from Indian Army, he's worked in MNCs for 2 years before starting his own company as You Shine Venture. His emphasis is a keen interest in training and development and public relation and administration. He has a strong sportsman spirit and a deeper liking for music, reading, writing, traveling, and trekking. May I call upon Colonel Dinesh Mundry? Sorry. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
It is pleasure to have you on this panel, sir.
Yeah.
I will start with my first question, sir. There are so many youngsters inspiring to join the defense services today, sir, like NDA. Women also have an open entry now, and we can look forward for an enormous career in defense. So my question to you is, do you remember any such initial incidents which will remind all of us of those days of training, sir? How is it with you, sir?
Firstly, good evening to you and everybody here on the panel. In fact, when you listen to speakers like this, Commander Prakash, Satyam, and Amit Parikh, they say when you listen to such speakers, you become speechless. I don't know what to say
Absolutely,
here
sir.
afterwards. In fact, they're all men of
But I'm
great
sure, sir,
intellect.
we've got you here with your unique story, sir. So let us hear your story also, sir.
Yeah, good. In fact, I'm also, I should be thankful to all you people for bringing me here on this stage. And in my brief introduction to, although you said so much, my brief introduction is that I'm a soldier. I was a soldier once. And to speak to such an audience, I am reminded of that old anecdote from Mahabharata. It says, Bahuda Shrotabhya, Bahudda Shrotabhya. When Krishna takes all these Pandavas to Bhishma, because Bhishma was supposed to have lived for 800 years, of which
Yes.
625 years he spent in Veda Vyas. So to get all his nitis, all his shastras to Pandavas, Krishna takes all of these Pandavas to Bhishma, where he was lying on the bed of arrows. And Bhishma says this sentence, Bahuda Shrotabhya, Bahuda Shrotabhya, which means that to such learned people, what can I say is what he said. So to such audience, I don't know what I can say because I'm still a beginner in that this thing. And what Shivakera said once upon a time, that winners do not do things differently. They do different, or winners do different. They not do different things. They things do differently. But after seeing all these people, Vinko Satyam, and the Commander Prakash, I can say one thing for certainty is that winners also do different things. And
Absolutely,
in
sir.
fact, since I'm just a soldier and speaking to these people, the eminent MSME leaders and owners, what Modi ji said about these MSME leaders is one, I think in 2017, was that he said he referred to them as soldiers of development. While I'm just a soldier, the MSME leaders and owners are soldiers of development, and rightly so, because with about 63 million MSMEs today in India and contributing to about 30% of the national GDP, they are the ones who are actually taking part in the national security as much as I am part of that national development or national defense. So kudos to all these people who are in that realm as of today and driving the nation. And coming to your question, that what motivates or what is my first incident of National Defense Academy. In fact, when we entered the hollowed precincts of National Defense Academy, which is about many people may not be aware here, it's about 8,000 acres campus. Many people here in the schools and colleges, when they invite me to speak to their students and other people, they tell me that their school is about 3 acres big or 4 acres big. This National Defense Academy, which is in Kadakwasa, is about 8,000 acres big. And
Absolutely, sir.
and when you
I
enter,
come from Pune city, sir, and once in 6 months, I go to National Defense Academy, Kadakwasla, sir. I've been
correct,
going with my father, I went with my husband, now I'm going with my son. And there are so many students I'm motivating, I take them once in 6 months, sir. It is going back to your alma mater, I think.
correct. When you enter that hollowed precincts there, the one thing that strikes you there is that the motto of NDA, which says that service before self. In fact, incidentally, the motto of Indian Army is also service before self. The
Yes.
service before self motto is inscribed everywhere, wherever you go in National Defense Academy campus.
Yes.
Everywhere it is there. It's there on your dinner plates. It is there on your album. It's there on your uniform and in your cap, beret. Wherever you see that service before self is there. One incident I can recall, that when I entered there in the month of January, it was biting cold that time, January 1983, correct. And we were taken to, after we dropped our luggage there, the first thing that they did was they took us in a squad. We came from civilian background. That time I had long hair. The first thing that they did was they took us to the barber shop. And in the barber shop, it was about 30 feet by 40 feet wide room. And there was a battery of barbers. And when they made us sit on those chairs, and then there were no mirrors in front of the in the barber hall, there were no mirrors. And this guy who gave us the crew cut, it just took us about 3 minutes or so, 3 minutes or 4 minutes to give us a crew cut. He cut all our hair and gave us a crew cut. And then when I came back and came into the adjoining room and saw myself, leave aside somebody else recognizing me, I could not recognize myself because I had such long hair, and within 3 minutes, 4 minutes, all this was gone.
Sir, this
And
coming from a man is little odd, sir. If you allow me, I will share my incident story, sir. When we joined the academy, similar thing happened with the girl cadets. My own postmate, Shrikala, I would mention her name here. She came with Dimple Kapadia's step haircut, and she thought she's going to take classes for the student male officers. When she went into the barber shop, similar barber shop, what you are explaining, that is was known as, there was a katora which was kept. It is known as a katora
yes,
haircut, and then they
correct,
put something on your head, and whatever is seen outside the katora is completely chopped off. For
correct,
6 months, we did not look into the mirror. So the mirror were covered with beautiful dupattas, and mirror were out of our living areas.
correct.
So I can correlate where you are taking us, sir.
Correct. And in fact, one question that troubled me was, why do the army people have crew cut? Is one question is that troubled me throughout. And it is not because there was to bring in uniformity among soldiers. It is not because there was paucity of water in camp areas. It is
Yes.
not because that when a soldier runs away from the camps, it's easy to identify him and apprehend him in civil areas.
No, that
It is
cannot be the reason, sir.
it
I'm
is
sure
to
that is not the
when you stood out in front of that mirror, it gave a message to yourself that your old identity is now gone. The new identity that you are now seeing in front of the mirror is that it is not about individual identity. You are now Dinesh Mundry, who belongs to
the
a nation,
comrades
or
of the country.
belongs to that
Absolutely, sir.
organization. So that is
Yes.
one message. I think when I stood in front of that mirror after that haircut, that message was that your now old identity is
Loud and
gone,
clear.
and the new identity is that of that organization. So this is a thing that
Absolutely.
I can still remember from National Defense Academy days.
Yes, sir. So my second question to you is, most of the army officers get their first posting either in the north or northwest fronts where Pakistan is our neighbor, or in the eastern sector where China is our neighborhood. So if you recall an incident of your first posting in these extreme weather, where and what takes a soldier to serve in the forward border areas with extremely difficult terrains and the weather, sir.
You know what? The first posting of mine was on Boomla Pass. Boomla, La in Tibetan language, it stands for a pass.
Yes.
Boomla. And this is a place where the Chinese came uninvited in the year 1962. And
Mhm.
to reach that place in Tawang, ahead of Tawang it was, to reach that place, we had to pass through a place called Nuranang. And
Yes.
Nuranang is a place where Jaswant Singh, rifleman Jaswant Singh of Gadwal Rifles, he stood there and defended our country in the year 1962 when the Chinese came for 2 full days. Single-handedly, he was able to stall the Chinese advance. And with one machine gun that he fired from different locations and different positions. He fired at the Chinese, giving an impression to the Chinese advancing party that there is a body of troops deployed here on this feature. But
Mhm.
ultimately, after 2 days, when the Chinese were able to overpower him and come there, and they saw only this guy was firing with his machine gun and giving that wrong impression to the Chinese. They were so very upset with this guy that they beheaded him and took away his upper portion to their country. And you know what? After this thing was over, the war was over. Unilaterally, the Chinese people came back to give back that severed head back to the Indian government and Indian army. Now, what I would like to convey is that the message was that it is not just the Indian countrymen love the Indian soldiers; it's also our enemies love us because of our professionalism. In fact, Vinko Satyam and also Commander Prakash, they gave about the glimpses about the Chinese, the Indian Army's uh, professionalism. It's also that the enemies love us. That's why the Indian Army is much in demand for UN deployment. Why? Because of our
Absolutely, sir.
professionalism. Yeah, that
The
is one thing
Indian
that I
armed
can.
forces are the most favored forces when it comes to United Nations security services, sir.
Correct. That is
We
his
are
biggest
we
strength.
are very well trained. We are the most humble soldiers, and we take on all types of tasks and challenges what are given to us, even on the international scenarios.
Correct. It's neither his brain nor his brawn. It is
Yes,
the support that he enjoys from his countrymen. That is his strength, I suppose. And
absolutely,
when
sir.
you pass through such places, Nuranang, Jaswant Singh, and there is a mandir built there now. And so when you pass through such places, automatically, your spirit to be there and then serve the nation. In fact, when you serve in a country, in an organization like Cognizant or Accenture or anywhere, you say you are working for that company. But when you are serving the nation, you say you are serving the Indian Army. So
Absolutely, sir.
although it is semantics, the difference is huge. When you're serving the nation vis-a-vis when you're working for an organization, there's a huge difference. That's
I
all
would
that I
like
can
to
say.
add on here, sir. I'm a third generation in the army. My father was posted to the place that you just mentioned. My husband was also posted at 5 DOU there, and he was the ammunition qualified officer. So we actually went to this
Oh,
pass and we
okay.
spent 2 days in the officers' mess there. And I remember what I saw from my father's eye. Nothing has changed to my husband's viewpoint, sir. The land, the ground is a no man's area, which is held only and only by defense people, and we are doing a fantastic service to our country, sir.
Correct. In fact, those places will remain like that. In fact, I can
Absolutely.
also relate to you that old incident of 1962 in Razangla, where this Major Shaitan Singh in
Yes.
1962 in the icy heights of Razangla with his 121 men, he and 120 people, 114 people died in that battle. 5 people were captured by the Chinese and taken away as PWs, and one guy returned to tell the whole story of Battle of Razangla. In fact, you
Mhm.
know what? When the Indian Army went back after the war was over in 1962 to retrieve the bodies of these soldiers, all of them were there in their trenches, and all of them had taken bullets on their chest. One message that we can tell our countrymen is that none of them had their bullets on the back of
On the
their this
back.
thing. It was
On the
yeah,
back.
it was all on their chest. In
Yes.
fact, the U.S. publications, the Times magazine wrote after the 1962 operations that if there is one thing that the Indian Army soldier needs is he needs everything except courage, because courage is one thing that he has it in abundance. So that was the
Absolutely.
message, right? We had
Absolutely.
nothing. We had no clothing. We had no boots. We had no ammunition. We had no equipment
So the
to match
biggest
the
enemy
Chinese
that we were fighting was the extreme weather, but we
weather.
fought with
Correct.
valor and josh and
Correct.
passion. I think that's why
Correct.
we won the war.
Correct. So courage is one thing that the Indian soldier has it in abundance. The rest, whatever he has, he fights with whatever he has. Okay.
Absolutely, sir. So my next question to you is, we as veterans move from the war room to the corporate boardrooms, going through a journey of embarking the second innings of our career. What is the distinct differences between these two environments of the armed forces and the corporate world? And after Dinesh Soni, I would after Dinesh Mundry sir, I would also like to take suggestions from others. The two veterans who are here, I would like to hear their comments also on this, sir. So my question to all of you is, what is the distinct difference between the two environments from the war rooms to the corporate boardrooms and to your professional arenas? What uniqueness have you brought in? So first, I would like to take Colonel Dinesh Mundry sir here.
See, in the corporate, although I worked for a few years there in the corporate, we would constantly talk about P&L there, profit and loss. And in the army culture, we talk about D&L, death and life. So that is the difference. In fact, we don't see many veterans venturing into the entrepreneurship here. In fact, the Americans, out of every 10 entrepreneurs there in America, one is a retired soldier. Why? Because there is a climate of that climate created in American countries or those Western countries where the society looks after them, the banks look after them. In fact, there are about 2 to 4% less interest given to the veterans to start their own small little things. So that kind of culture is missing here, probably in India and thing. Although we have many people, I can talk about Captain Gopinath who started Air Deccan. Then there is Captain Raghuraman who started a snack grade. Then there is Bedi who started Tulips. And there are many people who started ventures here in India, the veterans who started ventures in India. But there is a difference in the work culture in the army and also the civilian setups here. I'm sure the days ahead you will see more of the army people coming into and venturing with their own small little innovations and starting up new things.
Absolutely, sir. So I would like to call upon Wing Commander Satyam sir here to please give us your viewpoint here, sir. and also Wing Commander CV Prakash. Satyam sir and Prakash sir.
Satyam sir is there. I think Satyam is not there, I think. Is he?
Okay. So you go ahead.
I think he's there. Would you like to go forward, Wing Commander?
I think you can take on, sir. He'll come.
Just repeat that question once more, Rashtraji.
So my question to you is, we as veterans have moved from war rooms to the corporate boardrooms, going through the journey of embarking the second inning of our career. What are the distinct differences between these two environments, and how do you take it, sir?
Yeah, like I said, Ashaji, I'll second what Colonel Mundry said. In the civilian world, there is no death and life question here.
Yes.
Nothing. There's nothing that makes you take action suddenly, or like the way we do in the armed forces. Because although we are trained and we are very skilled in our profession in the armed forces, even during our armed forces life, we never take things for granted. We know that something new will stand up in front of us. Some new challenge would be there. And at that moment, we have to take action in split seconds. Now, I was a submariner, and my submarine moves like a snail. It's a very slow moving boat. But imagine somebody on a fighter plane like Wing Commander Kushwaha. They are flying at that speed. They got to think of so many different things at the same time. For that matter, you were from the army. Just when you thought the bullets were coming from the front, they were coming from behind. And then you say, okay, there's something missing here. Or like how Colonel said about that soldier who was firing from different directions and fooled the Chinese. So you got to have split second. It's just a split second moment. That doesn't happen in the corporate world. In the corporate world, if a pair of socks has to be bought, it has to go through the directors. Everybody has to approve. There is so many things there. But
absolutely,
when you're on the front, and a platoon commander need not necessarily be a commissioned officer. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel Mundry. Then what happens is, he is the man at the front. He takes action. He doesn't have time to ask the chief of the army staff whether shall I open fire or not. That kind of decision-making ability is not necessarily seen in the corporate world. Many times for small things also, in spite of all the delegation of responsibility, there is so much of hierarchy, there is so much of top heaviness, there's so many approvals to be got. Like here, I run a training school. I have students who come to me. I don't interfere too much in their work. I just walk in for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, and I see what I see, and I see it very fast. And when I ask them, have you scouted and have you looked for pest and disease? Yes, sir. And my eyes fall on a worm and I say, hello, there's a worm here. They say, how did you see it? That's because that is the sharpness and observation capacity that is built into us in the armed forces. So even finances, for that matter, if anything has to be purchased, we have, if I have 10 students, one person is made in charge of finance. He comes to me every week and says, sir, I spent on this, I spent on that, I spent on that. If I see something that has been spent and I feel that was it necessary, only then I ask. But I tell them, don't come and tell me that your training was affected because you did not have a soap powder or you did not have a biological pesticide. Come and tell me only if something has been purchased when it was not necessary. So I still take what I learned from the military into my life. In the 22 years in civilian life, I can tell you, I have used every single thing that I learned from the Navy and I have put it into practice, and I've actually pushed it into the farmers, because farming is also like being a Jawan. A farmer has to be like a Jawan. He has to be very observant. He's got to see things the moment it happens. Because when you see a pest for the first time, it's an indication that more are coming. If you see a disease happening, you need to take action quickly. So that's how I have pushed my Sainik school training, my National Defense Academy training, my 14 years in the Navy, in the submarines. These all have passed it on into the civilian world.
Absolutely.
Many people say, sir, these things we can only learn from Fauji's. Yes, very true. And I would egg every person, every youngster in this country to be able to take split decisions when necessary, quick decisions. Many a times we say we'll take the decision tomorrow, we procrastinate on it, and still nothing happens.
Absolutely.
So there are times when I ask my students, I'd ask someone to do this, then everyone looks at each other and nobody has done the job. So I tell them that story of anybody, nobody, somebody, and everybody.
Somebody and everybody. Yes, we are aware of that story, sir.
So the thing is, I teach them the importance of feedback. Now, feedback is something that I have seen in the civilian world is not as anywhere close to the military. In the armed forces, when an order is given to a soldier, he repeats the order so that the officer knows that he understood the order. So,
पूछा जाता है, sir, कोई शक?
yes,
समझ आया? कोई शक? कोई शक का
Yes.
मतलब है 100% clear.
Yes. So we ask, and in the Navy, we say starboard 30. That means turn the wheel starboard 30 degrees. Immediately, the helmsman, the guy on the steering, he'll say, Roger, sir, 30 of starboard wheel on, sir. That means he
Yes.
put it to 30 degrees. Then the
Absolutely.
captain says, steer 180. He says, steering 150, coming around to 180. When he comes to 180, he says, I'm on course, ordered course, sir. So this
Yes.
feedback is something that is severely missing in the civilian
Very important part of life, sir.
If you don't ask, they won't tell. It's like morning.
Absolutely.
Yes, morning you give a job to somebody, and the biggest problem about communication in the corporate world is the assumption that the communication has already taken place. So
Absolutely right, sir.
you don't assume things. In the army, we are not allowed to assume or presume. We've got to
Yes.
actually see and say that, yes, I have seen it. Not that, sir, I think it is there. Maybe it is there. These kind of answers are not accepted in military life. So I think these kind of things can flow down from the military. See, most of what people teach in management colleges, be it logistics, be it administration, where does it all come from? Where has it been taken from? It's all been taken from the military. Imagine how Alexander
So
came
to
all
add
the way.
on to your thoughts, sir, when the ISO 9000 series came into the Indian territories, basically, so defense were already following those norms. Rather, the defense norms, the quality assurance norms are more stringent. That is why they have a completely different culture known as defense manufacturing culture, which has got very stringent quality assurance certificates and processes set up, which a normal manufacturer do not do. That is why we have subject matter experts like me on ground who take on businesses, because they need to be handled and taken care in a different angle and a different aspect. That makes a very important area of work.
Ashaji, I would like to share an anecdote and a real time thing that happened with me in the submarines. And if I tell you this, every civilian friend of mine watching this or hearing me will get goosebumps.
So there is one incident. One of them has already written a note. I would like to read it out here. Remembering the Field Marshal Manik Shaw, when he asked Pakistani soldiers why we beat them in spite of, superior technology the Pakistanis had. The answer, the person has already given us the answer also. It is Raju, this thing. So he says the one word answer that he knows is the Josh of the Indian Army. That is how we won our battles.
Yes, so I would like to say two things now that you brought this about, Ashaji. It's very interesting for people listening here. Napoleon was a great emperor, one of the greatest emperors, and he lost finally the battle before he was sent to St. Helena on exile.
Yeah.
His army, the French army, was a very brilliant army, and they were fighting with the British, and they lost the war. When they lost the war, a journalist came to him and asked him, Emperor, you are such a powerful emperor, you have such a well-trained army, and how do you think you could have won this war? He said, of course we could have won this war. So he asked Napoleon, but how? He said, had my troops fought half an hour longer. Half an hour longer. You see the difference? Yes. So that's what the Indian army is. That's what Colonel Mundry is saying, that our army fights with its courage.
Absolutely.
With courage. And the same courage is something that even after we leave and we let down our uniform, that courage never goes anywhere. Now, to bring something about communication and feedback, the difference between the corporate and the civilian world, I'll tell you a beautiful small example before I let you go. I joined the submarine after doing my long course, that is my specialization course in anti-submarine warfare. I was posted on a submarine, I won't take names, and we were an operational submarine. I joined the submarine today, and tomorrow we had to sail out for about 7 days for some purpose and some exercise. Now, Asha ji is a demolition expert, explosives expert. She knows very well. There's something called a detonator and there's something called a fuse. A torpedo or any explosive or any kind of bomb will have two of these things. One is the primer and the detonator.
Yes.
Now, there are two boxes which are given by the Naval Armament Depot, one containing primers, one containing detonators. And they are sealed. They are actually sealed with lead seals, and we are not supposed to open them unless the captain gives us orders to open them and arm the torpedoes.
Absolutely, sir.
Now, what happened? As a matter of routine or normal, we never open that. We just use it when the submarine goes into a refit. We give it back to the Naval Armament Depot, and then they do what they have to do. When I sailed out, one of the first things, because I'm a person, I always lived by instinct for some reason. Something told me, and I'd just taken over the torpedo department. I was just getting to know my petty officer who was in charge and my other topchis, as I call them, topchi.
Yeah, they're known as topchis.
Yeah, so I called one of my topchi, and he's on my Facebook even today, wonderful torpedist. And I said, brother, get me the primer and detonator box. So they brought it to me. I said, let's open it. Let's ask captain's permission and open it. He said, sir, ye koi kholta nahi hai.
There is an ammunition seal on the boxes which is supposed to be broken by them.
There is a seal. Even if I am a torpedo officer, I cannot open it without captain's permission.
Yes, exactly, sir. Yes.
Now, what happened? I went down, and I had a captain who was a very different captain, Lieutenant Commander Fazal. He was a man who would never say no unless he really felt it's not right. He always listened to specialists in his submarine, because obviously, like Wing Commander says, it's not I who did it. We did it as a team. We are all a team. So I went down to captain's cabin and I said, Captain, sir, I have a request. He said, yeah, tell me. So I told him, sir, I want to open these boxes and just check for all the primers and detonators inside these boxes. Now, one box is numbered as 3-13-1 and the other is 3-13-3. One is primer, one is detonator. I opened both the boxes and all hell broke loose. I didn't find cobras inside, I can tell you that, but I found both the boxes contained primers. There was no detonator. Now imagine on an operational submarine, you are asked to arm the torpedo and push it through into the torpedo tube. What the hell are you going to do with a torpedo that doesn't have a detonator? Now,
it's a very rare case, sir. It generally doesn't happen. One of the rarest of the rarest cases. I would like to call upon Colonel Dinesh, sir, because he's also been into insurgency area. Did you ever face a similar situation there, sir? Colonel Dinesh, sir? Yes.
Hi. Yeah.
So let's have it more interactive here session. So because this is taking us to the closer to the most powerful part of the defense, the ammunition and the explosive part. Yes, sir. Please continue, Colonel Commander Prakash.
Yeah. So I saw this and I took 10 deep breaths and I just said, thank God I checked it. Imagine if, and our submarine was an operational submarine. It's not that it was in refit or it was just lying there for some other purpose. It was an operational submarine. And this happened. And I was thanking God, what made you make me open these boxes? But you will not believe, when I went and told Captain what I saw, he was so happy. He was so happy. And he asked me, do you guys always open it? I said, sir, it's never done. So then he made it, he wrote this matter to the Naval Armament Depot from his side. And he said, be very careful, guys, because we normally don't have this. Then it became a norm to open for all torpedo officers to open and check.
Recheck,
because we used to take it for granted that whatever is written there, that seal is there, it means that. Actually, a cucumber is written outside, but what I found was a tomato. Now you can imagine what if in wartime, if that happened.
But this is the rarest of the rarest situation which got controlled by the vigilant expertise of yours.
Yes, Ashaji. And even in my training here, I teach people logistics and I tell them these are the items that need to go to different farmers. Many a times it happens that even after it's packed, I make them open it and I find that something is missing or the wrong product has been kept inside.
Absolutely. So very rarely in Indian Air Force and in the Indian Navy does the ammunition is checked and rechecked. More often it is very well and very validly used and fired in the Indian Army.
Correct. Very
so
true.
Colonel Dinesh, I would like to know from you any incidences where you feel that this incident has occurred in your army tenure, which will make us believe that this system works rightly.
No, I have not had any system, such mishaps anywhere in the army, because we believe in too many SOPs and too many checks and cross checks and balances, things like that. So those things do not happen. In fact, I can recall that old anecdote where the Genghis Khan brigade used to come here. They were on a campaign. What Genghis Khan used to do was that there is this concept of Chinese whispers you would have all heard about, because the orders get distorted at every stage. So what he used to do was that when he used to pitch a tent in the center, and there used to be tents all along on either side of his tents, he used to send out orders in rhymes, and the orders used to be in rhymes, and everybody used to repeat that rhyme. So when you repeat that rhyme, the orders rarely used to get distorted. So the idea of conveying orders in rhyming form was to ensure that when the last man used to hear these orders, the rhyme used to be correctly pronounced or heard. So the possibility of order getting distorted was not there. When you rhyme an order, it used to go in that particular format, in that particular sequence. So such kind of mishaps do not take place in the army, because there are too many checks and balances. I'm very sorry, slightly I'm indisposed, not able to convey it very clearly. But then communication gap is one thing that from top to bottom and bottom to top, it is ensured that in the army circles, it doesn't happen.
Yes, sir. Yes. Would you like to add anything, Wing Commander Satyam, sir?
Ma'am, in terms of communication gaps or especially with respect to armament and all that, never, at least in Air Force, never. That I've heard of things because the SOPs are very, very strong.
Absolutely clear.
And at least in Air Force, especially for the men, they carry their, they have their own reference pads or whatever you may call it.
Yes.
Every
we carry
time,
our SOPs and books with us.
And especially on aircraft, when people work, it's always two people working.
Yes.
One guy reads out. And even in cockpits and all that, like, we're very particular about it. I mean, arms and ammunition, I mean, when you are touching that master switch, that meter is always on.
Yes.
That, this is serious
because
stuff.
I, being an ammunition officer,
Yes.
I have used and marked those seals after doing my proofs, repairs, and all those activities. When I put my mark on an ammunition box,
so
I know it will be opened only when the order is there to open that, sir.
Yes,
so because that it felt it is asking my own dignity here to prove it. That's why I've been emphasizing on this to get the right answer.
And trust me, ma'am, this is taken so seriously. I still recall in India days when you used to go to the range, and even one blank cartridge is, I mean, the fired round, the coca is not there. The entire course will be out for till the time that coca is found.
We were made to do that in our training time, sir. We went for our Ghatak exercise.
At the firing range, I was a very good shot in NDA. And those days, khoon garam rehta na. So we were the next, that what you call the detail. And
next line.
Yeah, and what happened was, before we were asked to cock the rifle, I put it into this thing, cocked it, and this Subedar or Havaldar who was behind me, he said, "Utho, rifle niche." And I had to roll up the hill, 2475.
Yes.
I rolled up, not down. I can still remember my first roll. My water bottle at the back was cracked into two pieces.
Yes.
So I can never forget that incident.
So the aim here is, the lesson that we learn here is, sir, ammunition is not going to give you a second chance. So you've got to be very, very disciplined.
Actually, I'll tell you what. I would like to add something. It's about a drill, whether it is ammunition,
the attitude that you take behind that,
or it is anything, and I'll tell you from an aviation perspective. In aviation, like when you practice, especially as a young fighter pilot, when you get to the aeroplane, and even as an experienced person, even if you're coming back after leave, you spend good amount of time sitting in the cockpit, getting used to which switches where and things like that. Because there's a drill, whether somebody sees you or not, especially in fighter cockpit, you're alone. So it's the kind of SOP which you're supposed to follow. You're supposed to do it every time the same way. For example, a switch is supposed to be put on in a certain way. It is supposed to be rotated in a certain way. It will be done only that way. So
So the
that
logic is the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. I think that is a concept which is followed in all
trust
the
me,
tri-services of Indian
and
defense
trust
services, I
me,
think.
this comes into play, especially when you are in panic situations or when
Absolutely.
you are under
Yes.
emergency, where
Because
Absolutely.
it becomes a synergy with your body language and your
It's
thought
second
process.
nature, Ashaji.
yes, ma'am,
Yes,
because
it
then
becomes
the
your
system
nature.
is driving you. I recall I had taken off once in Pathankot, and I was, we have some kind of a duration within which you're supposed to fly a certain amount of sorties. So if you don't fly, then your say your certification or whatever your category goes out. So I
Right.
had to do
The
night flying
term
that.
used is grounded. You get grounded, is it?
So I had to do dark night flying that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I had come after a long break and I was within that time zone, but it had to be done that day.
Yeah.
So when I went up, disorientation hota hai na? Disorientation can hit anybody anytime, irrespective.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
moment I got airborne, and MiG-21 is a fairly fast aeroplane,
Yes.
speed अच्छी खासी पकड़ लेता है. तो
Sonics.
मेरे को ये फीलिंग आ रही थी कि मेरा एयरक्राफ्ट स्लो डाउन हो रहा है.
Mm-hmm.
तो मैंने स्पीड देखा, स्पीड सही चल रहा है, इंजन देखा, पैरामीटर्स देख रहा, सब कुछ सही चल रहा है. मेरे को लग रहा है कि यार कुछ तो पुल बैक कर रहा है. It's a very dirty feeling and it's a dark night. And in Pathankot, you can't take chances because very close to the border.
Mm-hmm.
And the hills are the other side.
Yes.
So I just called my radar that so and so. I just started communicating with my radar guy, the ground control guy, and I said I would like to feed in for a ground control approach. So I kept my cool, but inside I was just repeating exactly the pattern that I've been taught.
Yes.
So whether whatever the body is feeling, because क्या होता है कि मैम
Your learnings play a very important role then.
Disorientation में क्या होता है कि instrument says something but your body is feeling something else. So people tend to follow what the body is doing and maximum crashes actually happen like that.
Happens because of that.
It was not a very good weather that day. But what I just did is I just kept my nerve and I just kept repeating the pattern. Okay, do this, check this, check this, check this, check this. And just came and quietly landed.
Yeah.
I told my boss, sir, this has happened. Yeah, I mean,
very true.
Debrief.
Very true.
Yes, ma'am. And this will come only when in daily life also what you're supposed to do, you follow that process correctly. It's a habit. Yes. It cannot be that 99% of the time you break your rules and suddenly you come in office and you follow the rule. It will never come into you. So it is every time do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
While keeping your mind open.
Isn't that disorientation kind of thing also many a times cause what you call in aviation as controlled flight into terrain?
Yes, sir. That happens. I lost a lot of friends like that.
No, because there are times when you believe your instrument, but your eyes with experience tell you something else.
The body itself, if you feel that as if you're banking, so you'll unnecessarily put a bank, but actually it is not there. So those things do happen, sir. I mean, I have been in very, very critical situations sometimes.
Like on ships, Vinko, on ships, the captains who, by the time they become captains of big ships, they can say, what distance the contact is, surface ship they see, and if you check it with the radar, it's just plus minus 100 meters.
Yeah, that comes with experience, sir. But you got to still follow the basic drill and read through the instruments that are there with you. Second check.
That is why, ma'am, if you recall, when I mentioned in my initial comments that you are supposed to be in sync with what is happening around you.
Yes,
people get used to working in their closeted mind.
Yes.
But the moment you are open, you will realize what's happened. And that is what I learned in fighter flying, which I applied in real life.
That is what is situational awareness.
Absolutely, sir.
True. Very true, sir. Very, very true, sir. So
that's
my next...
must concentrate on what you're doing and keep your mind in what you do. Otherwise, you can make mistakes.
Absolutely, sir. So my next question to all the three officers here, sir, is, we have come across this thought, do soldiers become good entrepreneurs? I want all three of you to answer, sir, starting with Colonel Dinesh. What are your views? And I would like to know all the panelists to answer this with their personal thoughts. Starting with Colonel Dinesh, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think so, because, there's an old joke about the army. One mother was advising her teenage daughter, if you have to marry somebody, marry an army officer, they said. Why? Because he knows how to sew, how to cook, how to give a first aid, and above all, he knows how to instantaneously obey orders. That's the reason why.
That's
That
a
is the
wonderful
reason
one, sir.
why.
That's really a wonderful one.
You know,
I think we've been
so,
following it in our family, sir. My grandfather was an army officer. My father was an army officer. My husband is an army officer. My son would like to become a Navy or an Air Force officer now. So we've been following
Which
it
means that
religiously.
the ladies have been having traditionally an upper hand in your family.
Yeah,
so
we are
one
known as
thing,
better halves and fourths, sir. Better halves. That's the best part. Please continue,
so,
sir.
so one thing is that he has band management, he knows resource management, he knows bit about finances, everything he knows about. So that if you have to open a restaurant, you must be a cook, you must be a waiter, you must be able to handle accounts, you must be able to do the customer management well. So these things he knows very well. I think if we can put all these things together and then plan ahead. And one of the best parts about the Fauji is that you also touched upon that point, that ability to adapt to change is his biggest strength, I suppose, because he's very good at
Absolutely.
chaos management. One thing he's good at is chaos management. So because he, as an army man, I can tell you one thing that you said very briefly, that something with him is always changing. Either his place
Yes.
of posting is changing, his residence is changing, the school of the school of his kids is changing, either he's changing his car, something is changing in him. The only thing that is very constant with an army man is his wife. Unfortunately, that does not change.
So let's not give that right, sir. Let's not give that
That
right to officers.
so other than his wife, everything about him, around him, is changing. So and that the concept of uka that we keep talking about in the corporate this thing, that it's very volatile, it is very complex, ambiguous. So these situations is army man is always exposed to.
Yes.
So that I think even in the corporate world, in the business world, everything around him is changing, and nobody other than, I think, the army man is very well suited to this kind of changing situations, because he's trained for that. He changes to the changing situations, and that makes it very good for an army man to take up entrepreneurial journey after he has hung his uniform. We should not be thinking
Absolutely, sir.
about settling in. Many people in the army, when I was there, sir, where do you settle, is a question that is very always asked to an army man. Where do you settle? There is nothing known as settling, I suppose. The best question to ask an army man is, when do you start and what do you restart with, is the question that
Absolutely,
he
sir.
must be asked.
Absolutely, sir. So
Um,
going over to Commander Satyam, sir, I would like you to answer this question, sir. Do
Ma'am,
soldiers make good entrepreneurs?
okay. So in addition to what Sir has said, so I won't repeat, but I feel that first of all, entrepreneurship for defense officers is a good option. In fact, it is a very good option because, in 15, 20 years that we've got a lot of experience, which is unmatched in terms of
Absolutely.
human resource management, in terms of even technical resource management, and in terms of being able to prepare to handle contingencies, contingency planning, and ability to rebound even after a setback. Now, these things come
Absolutely right,
very
sir.
naturally to a defense officer. One.
It's a natural way of living in that environment. I think
Yes.
we are used to
But
it.
it again depends on which sector or which zone are you going to take the entrepreneurship in, which means that before you get into it, one must do a good study of it. That means look before you leap. That is something very important.
Absolutely.
And once you've done your homework correctly, once you understand the risk involved, and you understand the functionalities, how the business runs, because just jumping in just like that without any knowledge can be a disaster also.
Absolutely right.
So one
Absolutely.
has to understand how business is done, what is cash flow management, what is, especially the financial aspects. Not many people, especially like a person like me, I came from a pure fighter pilot and a national security background. So when I got into the this space, things were very new for me, and I was quick to learn. I was adaptable, but at the same time, I wish I knew things beforehand. Then probably I would have been much more effective in my journey in the
Yeah.
initial stages. So that
True,
is
sir.
especially people who have never handled finances. See, one is handling routine accounts is something very, very different from when you get into business accounting, especially
Absolutely.
from a CA perspective. The other thing is for the how the money is rotated, understanding these things. Now, these things are very, very important things.
Yes.
Are not
Absolutely.
naturally taught to Fauji's. So
Yes.
one must understand this aspect. Second thing is contract management. How the contract is done. Like I never handle a contract in my life in defense because I was always in the operation side. This was either handled by the admin guys or the other guys. So I never knew about contracts. So this is again how the contract is to be written or how it is written. How do you interpret it? How do you fill the forms? Because sometimes it is a lot of tall jargon, but it just requires one line to be written. So how do you handle? So if you are planning that, then yes, choose a partner, because business, again, when you're doing entrepreneurship outside, you need a team. So have those people who can either advise you. It's not necessary that you have to be a guru in everything, but have people of trust who can advise you, who can guide you on this, and who can reliably be part of your journey.
Absolutely, sir.
So this is
Like,
very important. And
yes.
if you sorted it out, next thing is that it should be very clear what are you wanting to do. Are you planning us? Because many people get confused between a product and a service.
Yeah.
So one has to be very clear कि मेरे को करना क्या है.
Yeah. And what particular structure of the service and
what are
product
your
you want to go
steps?
into?
When do I want to do it? ये वो lot of people think कि यार वो ठीक है मैं manage कर लूँगा. But when you actually jump into it, then you realize, oh my God, ये तो सोचा ही नहीं था.
Yes.
And this is where cash flow challenges, especially like I am a bootstrapped guy. I am very proudly a bootstrapped guy. But there were times when people try to take me over, they try to mislead me, and they try to use. So one has to be aware of those things. So that means you need to be having someone in your system who guides you correctly, a guru whom you can go back and seek advice. Because initial hand-holding is required. I won't say that there are many people who are very capable here, but I'm talking from an ordinary, a person who's just a normal Fauji and trying to get into it. I think that is important.
So like we came to 3S systems, like we said, skill it, scale it, and then share it, actually, basically. I would like to call upon Lieutenant Commander Prakash sir here to answer this question, sir. Would you like to answer that? Do soldiers make very good entrepreneurs? Prakash sir.
Ashaji, to answer your question, like Wing Commander just said, we have umpteen amount of experiences of different kinds when we were in the armed forces whether you're from the Air Force or the Army or the Navy. We definitely have some great qualities. Many a times what happens is the integrity part of things is so much drilled into us, and the way we have operated during our NDA days or be it in our service days, we trust people on the face. We never, like when I was in Russia many years back to get my submarine Sindhu Kirti, the Russians had a saying, trust but confirm. But in the army or in this thing, between us colleagues and between us, our own troops, when I give a gun to my Jawan, I don't expect him to shoot me. Means it is given with a whole amount of trust, right?
Yes.
So what happens is when we enter into the civilian world for the first time and we try to do entrepreneurship, I don't want to repeat the same thing which Wing Commander just said, what we need to have. The most important thing is, number one, never be in a business you don't understand.
Absolutely right, sir.
Which means if you have to even work in a logistics company, you work in a logistics company, and if you want to become an entrepreneur, don't become straight away an entrepreneur. Understand the ropes, understand the difficulties of that field. The second thing about Faujis is, many a times we are so regimented and we are so disciplined, it's in our blood. So when we come out, when we see people are not punctual, we tend to get angry. When people call us by name, we find it very hard. It's like even today, if our dear friend Wing Commander is going to meet me tomorrow in Delhi, he knows CV sir is from 63rd course, he is from whichever course he is. If he knows that even if he thinks my hair is whiter than his, he'll first call me sir and then ask me and find out that I'm junior.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely right.
Yes. So what I try to tell Faujis who leave the service, because I left very early, I left in 14 years, so I was more in the civilian life. There are a lot of friends of mine who retired very late or after 20, 30 years. Some of them used to ask me, see, how is it in the civilian world? And I should tell them, set an example of all the good things that you have as a Fauji in the civil world. Learn from them, be patient with the civil world, because they are not regimented like you. They have, even today, I'm sure, like all of us Faujis, we have this habit of opening our eyes at 5 o'clock, regardless, even after leaving.
Absolutely.
So don't expect too much. First, you become an example to the people you work with. They will be more than happy to teach you the ropes of that business. I have seen that personally. A lot of people, like the area where I am in, I came in here 2.5 years back when I shifted out from another place. Today also, I don't have too many dealings with people around, but I can see a subtle respect, a subtle, when people see, I can see their body language. Oh, that sir is a Fauji, and they give me that respect. So I've had to always be an example to others. So
Absolutely.
So for
Absolutely right.
For Faujis, moving from civilian world, defense world into the civilian world is not a cakewalk. It's not a walk in the park. But I can tell you one thing, once people love you and for who you are, everything changes. You don't have to tell them.
Yes,
you don't
absolutely right.
You don't have to tell them what is punctuality. You don't have to tell them what is honesty. You don't have to tell them. You just be an example of who you are. And everything is so easy after that. So I think Faujis make very good, will make good entrepreneurs in certain fields, not all fields, of course. But what I would say is that, like in my field, for example, soilless agriculture needs a lot of precision, lots of process, lots of procedures to be followed, SOPs. And Faujis can make very, very good soilless farmers for the only reason that 5 baje to utta hai. Same thing, farmer also wakes up early morning. He can't come at 12 o'clock and say hi to his plants. So we are very well made for such kind of things, and we can definitely do it well because we have that discipline. So I won't take
very
more
true,
of it.
sir.
Thank you so much.
Very, very true, sir. So my last question, last and the final question, I would like to answer it in a particular pattern for this, sir. All three of you, sir, Colonel Dinesh, Lieutenant Commander Prakash, and Wing Commander Satyam, sir. My question is, what is the important lesson of defense operation that our MSME leaders and corporate employees can learn and implement in their area of work? I want you to give me only one word, each of you, sir.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Important lessons of defense operations that MSME leaders and corporate employees can learn and implement in their area of work. One word, sir.
See, I can. I will give you here, not one word, but I will repeat what you all been saying. Nation first. Actually, this sentence, this phrase came from Field Marshal Philip Chetwood. He was the one instrumental in establishing Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. When we take that antim kadam, the last step that we say after the passing out parade, Akhri path. Okay. When we take that last step, and on that is written there that remember these lines are there. It says the safety, honor, welfare of your country comes always and every time. The safety and comfort of your men that you command comes next. Your own comfort and safety comes last always and every time. So
Absolutely.
if as an entrepreneur, as a leader in the business world, if you can slightly modify this,
correlate the similar message
and say that your customers comes first and the employees that you employ come next, and your own profits,
then you come.
Your own profits and growth come last always and every time. That I'm sure you will make a very good leader and a business.
Wow, sir, this is a Chetwood's corporate liner made for us.
Take that and modify it here is what I can tell you.
Nice, sir. Very nice, sir. Wing Commander Satyam, sir, what do you have to say for that?
In addition to what sir has said, human beings are the most important. Invest in human beings.
Good, sir.
So besides
Wing
that,
Commander,
besides that, 2 points.
So
one is contingency planning. Because COVID comes, suddenly some virus XYZ will come. So contingency planning, and never have a single point of failure. That means diversify, have multi-tracks so that so there's a complementary support available to you.
Absolutely right, sir.
Yes.
So going to Lieutenant Commander Prakash, sir.
Somebody once asked me, what is the meaning of a good business deal? Somebody asked me, what would you call a good business deal? Or an ethical business deal? So I said, if I sell this pen to somebody for 10 rupees, and I give him the pen, and I've taken 10 rupees from him in cash value, this pen should make good for him in use value at least 12 rupees. So
Absolutely.
if I give you the spend for 10 rupees and it stops working after 1 hour and it give you 2 rupees value, I've actually cheated you.
Yes.
So my whole, if I have one word, a single word to say, is integrity. That's
Thank
it.
you so much for that, sir. So moving forward, I have my next panelist member here, Mr. Balwant Singh Chauhan. Mr. Balwant Singh Chauhan is the Deputy General Manager of 5-star certified business in North India with the Tally Solution Private Limited. He has been associated with driving the Tally technology adoption in MSME and government organization through a specialized set of partner networks. He has witnessed 2 indirect tax reforms during his career, that is VAT and GST. He has helped MSME to understand these changes and adoption of technology in possibly the simplest way. He is a PGDM with the specialization in marketing and has 17 years of illustrated industrial experience. He has been associated with Tally for more than 15 years now, and he is a subject matter expert in GST technology and its adoption in the industrial environment. He is having enormous experience in helping MSME customers and technology adoption with a clear approach to customer success every time and always. May I call upon Mr. Balwant Singh Chauhan? So,
Yeah, thank you, Captain Asa, ma'am, and I am really privileged to be part of this meeting. And I was just listening everyone that you have shared a wonderful experiences. I haven't heard about it, but I just try to just take out some of the learnings out of it, whether it is from you ma'ams and Kuswaha sir, either Prakash sir, everyone has just shared their thoughts. And one strong belief is that we are here and we are doing whatever we are doing to just make us happier and to make the nation happier. It is because of you people.
let
You
me
people
add
have
on,
just
sir.
made,
Every type of service towards nation building is nation serving, sir.
yeah, sure, ma'am. And we are doing it with an happiness without a fear, because
Absolutely.
you people and there are lots of people like you has been there for us, for the nation. And because we are celebrating this 75th independence year, and I means really means and Tally
Mr.
really appreciate your efforts into it. And apart from this, I just want to share that Tally being an technology and innovation company, we are trying to just make the things which can be done into the most simplest manner
I
to the
would like to ask
businesses.
you, sir, what does Tally stand today? And what is your people's philosophy behind it, sir?
Just the only thing is that, ma'am, we are technology and innovation company, and we have
Mm-hmm,
been delivering the software for small and medium enterprises is our
mm-hmm,
passion. And we had set a company apart, which much as it's a DNA, it's in architecture today.
mm-hmm.
Since from last 3 decades, uh, means since the inception of this company, Tally has been catered to million of the customers all across 100 of the countries.
Yeah,
And this has been,
very well, I think Lieutenant Commander Prakash was already mentioning, we don't call it Excel anymore, we call it tally sheets. I think that is the resonance of your work that you're doing on ground, sir. That speaks volumes about it.
yes. So you have just talked about the people. Yes, I will just the people philosophy is very clear for Tally, that
Mm-hmm.
we are having a robust network of approximately 28,000 plus partners,
Wow,
and they are having multiple people who has been delivering an unmatched customer experience in terms of sales, service, and support all across at all places in the world. And
absolutely, sir.
we as a strong team of research and development
Mm-hmm.
used to learn the things and try to give you the best thing out of that curiosity which is required into the market, and the innovation and technology which is required into the enterprise level of software for the small and medium businesses used to come all across. So this is having a small story also since the inception, because we have been talking about that you people have second means a different level of challenges and you just try to fight and just got into it. So this business, I will just tell you one small story that which in more than 3 decades ago, Shyam Sundar Goenka, who was just like he was a businessman, just like the part of an MSME. He has moved from Kolkata to Bangalore to set up his the textile business, and he has been supplier for the raw material to textile industry and the machineries part. And because he was a businessman and he was of course having the same challenges which the current MSME has been witnessed from last more than 75 years. So he wanted to automate the accounting system and the accounting operation, which can simply make the complex business scenarios into simple scenarios as businessman can understand. Whether it's a businessman, because all businessman doesn't understand how the things are happening behind. What is the complexity behind the software and the complexity is behind any application. The thing is that being a businessman, I want a flexibility that if I just want to do this operation, it should be most simplest. It should be in the most simplest way. So
Absolutely right, sir.
he suggested his son Bharat Goenka, who has been into software development, and he developed this accounting software, which led the journey of this Tally solution started from 1986. And since its inception, we have been working consistently to provide the robust business technology and the management application for the people who are using the medium enterprises or the people all across the geography should use it with a thought that nothing is better than this application. So
Absolutely right, sir.
we have been doing this, and on the people parts, the internally Tally believe that every means expansion or the happiness leads to a better work and a better output, and even if any contraction or the fear will let down and just make it downsize the things, the feelings. So Tally treat their people to openly share their views and have a very fantastic policy to just safeguard the independent thinking all across to the people who are associated with us. We nurture the people as a family to just provide us much and much better output in terms if
So
we
it would really be good to say that Tally is a people-centric company, sir. Isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, sure.
Absolutely right, sir. So I would like to ask you, what is the purpose and the mission behind Tally, sir?
Ma'am, we as a technology company, because we have been pioneered several journey all across from 1986 to till now. So our goal is to just become a technology fabric that drives the economic growth of the world by 2030. I will
Okay.
just like to explain a little bit about that what is means technology fabric and what is economic growth. The in simpler terms, velocity of money is the key driving force for any growth of the any economy. Hence, in order to achieve our goal, the technology should be centered all around the simplifying the movement of commerce among the people who are using it. So if you are going to make it simpler for all the people who are doing this all across the world, so it is going to happen. Means if you are going to make it people to transact easily or more easier will make you growth and the economic growth all across. So we are just trying to add more and more value and get added more and more technology which is demanded into this product, so that the people can demand for more value transaction, the people can demand for more spend, and they can also earn more and more out of it. Though, so the faster cycle, which is known as which is meant for the winning situation for all the stakeholder or for the businesses, should create a happier world all across. So the the goal of our company is very clear that we want to be technology fabric that drives the economic growth of the world by 2030.
Absolutely right, sir. My next question to you is, sir.
And
yes, please continue, sir.
Yeah.
I
And
need to.
the purpose of our company is very, yeah. You're sorry.
No, please go ahead, sir. Please.
Yeah. So, uh, I have already told you, means we believe that our purpose is very clear, that to make everyone who touches Tally happier. It is not, it's a very simple sentence if you will read it, but if you will feel it from the bottom of heart as a businessman, it means a lot. I
I
heard
understand,
several
sir.
speakers.
I have had used Tally in many occasions, and the moment you touch this concept of Tally, I think you don't want to use any other system. So it is so simple to follow that you never leave it, sir. I think that is the best tagline for any company. You know?
Thank
So
you,
it's
and thank you so much, ma'am.
absolutely, sir.
And so we are constantly making our efforts to make everyone happier. In terms, we are making all the changes, all the we are thinking on all the dimensions that which can provide you as a business. We can provide you purpose, value into your sentiment in your business, and it can make you grow on consistent basis. So to just make the business life more and more easier is what we are intending towards making on a regular basis.
Absolutely, sir. So my next
Yeah.
question to you is, Tally has been the backbone of most of the efficient business operations in MSME. Please do enlighten us by sharing the information how Tally has been helping the various businessmen in MSME Business Forum India and Business Startup Bharat.
Yeah, basically, ma'am, business is being a technology company. We know that the business is having different verticals, like service organizations are there, service oriented business, goods oriented business, and manufacturing organization, and the enterprise level organizations are there. So apart from this, enterprise and government organizations are there. So every people who are into the business terms are moving that velocity of money, and that need to be recorded, and that complexity need to be maintained. So
Absolutely, sir.
the intent is that we need to build a very delightful experience for anyone who's there into this. And we have been striving on consistent basis that whatever the things which are influencing the market, whether the macro environments, there are certain micro environments which regularly impacts the businesses, like BAT, GST, the compliance part, which has been a consistent part for the businesses to just fight back on that and to stay correct on that. Because today, if you are going to furnish anything which is not okay, is not liable, or it will harm your business in a longer term. So Tally is trying to just build that delightness to the customer, that it could be done very easily into the product. And we have been honoring all type of the business associations and the people who have been there, who are influencers, like because we have talked about the decision makers are there, who is being the part of the decision making for the businesses, like the chartered accountant or the people who just used to just get the data ready for the businesses. So we have been associated from all type of association all across this MSME, and we have been doing this engagement, and we are learning from them, and we are just experiencing their growth pattern which they want from us, and we are trying to make that possible in every instance.
Absolutely, sir. So related to the similar question that we are discussing here, there has been a continuous advancement in technology, sir.
Yeah.
May we request you to share with us the technology advancement in Tally that is coming up in near future for the betterment support of each and every businessman here. What is new? What is cooking in your area of new technology that we people are using? Because the world is moving at a supersonic speed, we want Tally also to support us all through. What is there for us to share?
So it is very tough question to just answer, because the time, we don't know what time will make the reality. In terms, people used to plan for certain things, but that doesn't works, because the reality makes it wiped out and make for a new request. But in terms of these things, I would like to just share few of the technological development and the advanced things which we have done into past, which will help you to understand what we are
Sir,
planning to
may
come
I
all
may I
across.
make a statement
Uh,
here, sir? So Tally has been the backbone
yeah.
of the business since the inception. You're very humble to say that the technology is not improving. I remember as a kid, I have heard about Tally, and I'm a grown-up 50-year-old lady now. And I still see Tally existing as a robust backbone of the system. So it is there, sir. I 100% believe Tally will come up with new innovative ideas for us to survive and live. So please
So
share the benefits of improvement
yes,
in your area
yes,
very,
Asa ma'am,
very, very
I would like to
vibrantly,
just tell
sir.
you that we
Please, sir.
we are existing from last 3 decades. The only thing is that we have a very clear cut value system. Honesty and integrity is one of the value system which we follow.
Absolutely, sir.
If we are not intended to deliver something or honor this our statement, so we never used to say anything to the means the people. So this is one of the important thing which we used to
Yes.
follow on a regular basis. So the statement which came is actually part of it. Yes, there are
I
certain
feel
things
that
which we
could
are
be the
planning to
that
come.
could be the major reason for Tally to survive, sir. Honesty and integrity. I think this is the sheer words which most of the defense people also follow, and this is the inner strength of a backbone, sir. I think with this, I think the company. That is how I think we can now know why Tally is surviving for so long.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And the honesty and integrity holds everything for the entire universe. But whether it's a personal life, whether it's organizational life, everything is all around, moving all around this honesty and integrity, which is one of the integral part.
Absolutely, sir.
So we rigorously follow this, and the technology which are there, which we the people can means use immediately. Like the today in today's world, we are expecting the means lighter version or the changing phase of the product which has been already done in 2020 with Tally Prime, and we have moved with the certain very fantastic tools which has been enabled. But apart from these, there had been technology demand by the compliance part, like e-invoicing, e-waybill. Every instances are required on different aspects. So we have already delivered this into the product. Apart from this, ma'am, the growing economy is moving towards cloud technology. People
Absolutely.
want to work from anywhere, anytime. So we as in Tally, because we have been technology company to just building the technology which can be used to for the growth of the businesses. So we have just come across with Tally on Amazon. So we have tied up with the AWS, the Amazon now host their Tally to cloud services, which has been come all across with the association of Tally, and it's a highly secured and highly usable and flexible thing which has been built into the system, which now people have started using. So basis on
Sure,
the
sir. I
requirement and the
think
demands, we are gradually
yes.
and
I think Tally is
trying to
going.
do, and in the coming time we are going to come. Yeah, in the coming time, sorry, I just cut you. So in coming time we are just trying to come to solve the problems for the multi-branch businesses, and there are still a few of the awaited compliance part which is very important for as a GST. So we are just trying to give you shortly, and we are trying to build certain technology which will definitely make that fabric feel you that this is what we are talking about, the fabric technology fabric. This will come very soon. Means we are working on that, and still I cannot say much of it, but yes, we are just working on it, and whenever it will come, it will make you feel that technology fabric will exist and will be part of our success.
Absolutely, sir. I would like to read out two notes that I have given here. I think a very important message to Tally team here is, well done, Tally. We are proud of you and you do great service to the Mother India. And the second one is, business will be khali without Tally. So may I request all the panelists to come on their cameras, please?
Those sentences
Like
are
every good activity, like every good role comes to an end. I think we are on the verge of finishing our session today. Thank you so much for each and every panelist who's been here. I believe it has been a very interactive, very lively, and very energizing and very, very good learning platform for most of us already on the panel. And plus the individual audiences who are sitting here, they have been supporting us with lively comments. And I'm so very happy that we are able to finish this in time. I'm sure I'm running out of 21 minutes, more than the time, but it was, I think, the need of the hour to allow people to open up and discuss. But I would personally like to thank each one of you present here from the bottom of my heart. It has been my pleasure to conduct, moderate, and to help the speakers here to bring out their thought, mind, and soul in front of each and every audience who's present here to know what we have and what we can give to the MSME business and to our country. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. So we can finish the program here. Thank you so much for being here. It was pleasure to conduct and moderate this show. We can go ahead and close this show here. Thank you so much.